Hey, Izuku. Yeah, I'm up. Yeah, so for today we're gonna do the last route that I need to do. We're gonna start that one. And there's gonna be a lot of skipping again until I get to the route proper. So yeah. Another Otome game Tuesday, and this is gonna be probably the last route we're gonna be doing. Next week will be part 2 of it. I'm just gonna... yeah. Hey, good afternoon, Izuku. Yeah, let's actually start the thing. So, yeah, we're gonna be skipping a lot. Start. I don't know how this is gonna go, but we'll see. Okay, here we go.
スタッフになった君には
I say I'm okay.
それは目覚め
And this is gonna give us the mini game that I would like to do.
準備はいいかい そのまま続けて大丈夫上手だよいい調子だね やっぱり君は最高の魔女だよ
Okay, skipping some more. Oh, okay. Okay. This is where I'm gonna be saving though. Okay. Administrator Tent, that was Sergey. Fountain was Curie. Teacups was Leon. Employee tents were was Lucille. I think it's supposed to be Gate? Oh, let's see. Okay, that's where Hugo is. And I think we went through that. Then we just say well done, I think, here. It's gonna be hanging out with Kriye. We talk about the tart. Then it's gonna be another mini game. And look at how far we got, and we are already at the final route. Yay! Yeah, and the next two... The week after next week, I'm gonna be starting a new game. It's a game that I bought a year ago that finally arrived. Okay.
ヒューゴの望みが叶う日も近そうだ。
Yeah. Okay. Skip. Hey, Jillian. Okay. I think it was... No, I don't think so. Just so I don't trip his flags. Okay, chapter 3. And I think this is where we go and hang out with Arnaud. Yep. And we chose this one before, so I guess we choose the other one to get his flags. Reporting sounds like an admirable line of work.
かっこいいって言われると
Hey,
なん
Potato.
か照れるな。
You should, I mean it.
俺の言葉に説得力があったってことか。記者には最高の褒め言葉だよ。
You ruffled my hair a little more tenderly than I was used to.
そうだ。お前に話したいことがあったんだ。
It's his route now? Yep. His route now. Which one is better, you by yourself or with your friends? Either way, depends. There are games that I prefer that I play alone. There are games that I prefer having friends with me. Arnold finished plating the
う
macarons.
ちの新聞でレーブ移動遊園地を取り上げたいって話になったんだ。こんな田舎じゃ一大イベントだからな。で、明日取材に行くんだけど、園長を紹介してもらえないか。
I suppose I might be able to get you in before we open.
本当か？じゃあ頼めるか。
An article would mean more visitors for the review. Yep. That was an exciting prospect, but part of me was worried. Gotta be careful. There'll be trouble if he finds out about the magic situation. What is this game about? It's an otome game, so it's a visual novel. It's a romance visual novel. I think this is something I can skip. Yep, I can skip this one now. Yeah. Just so we don't take too long on stuff that we've seen already. And since this was a second option was something we chose before, we're going with the other one. As a friend or something more.
悩んでくれてるのか。嬉しいな。まあ、恋人同士だったらって話だけどな。
Yeah, okay. Wait, what? Arnold chuckled as he drew away. Were you teasing me this whole time?
さあな。
Okay. What does maybe mean? Didn't seem he had been messing around, at least not entirely. Couldn't get a read on him. How am I supposed to come down from that? Being strung along by the man I trusted more than anyone had left my emotions in a state of chaos. Well.
なあ、質問していいか?
Dang, a bit close there, bro. Bro.
お前はちゃんと帰ってくるよな。なんか怖くなってさ。
Right, he has been expressing how scared he was of her suddenly leaving.
そうだよな。悪い、変なこと言って。
This is something I can skip. Then I know I'm sorry is the one that gives a point to him, so we're going with you're amazing. And then after this, I think it will be... Yep, there we go. Yep, there we go. Ronan's route. Wait, it's an auto. Whoop. For a moment I thought that the visitor was still lingering in the vicinity, but then I realized it was Arnaud. Yep, the route begins. Did you come to walk me home?
仕事が早めに終わったからな。
Okay. Oh, did it? I'm sorry for making you wait.
約束していたわけじゃないし気にするなよ。まあ、一人の帰り道が心配だってのもあるけど、開園前にトラブルがあったからさ。でもちゃんと営業してたってことは大丈夫だったんだな。
They did, yes. We pulled through somehow.
そうか。
Arnold smiled so broadly, you'd think he was just as dedicated to the park's success as I was. Then he reached out and took my hand.
じゃあ帰るか。
Huh? Sat up before I could figure out what was happening, leaving me all flustered.
えってなんだよ。久しぶりにいいだろ。
Yes, but I'd be embarrassed if someone saw us. We might give them the wrong idea.
一緒に住んでいる家族なんだから気にすることないだろう。
That family zone at the very
エマを
start.
待っている間に体が冷えたからぬくもりが欲しいな。エマは子供体温だから最適だな。
He flashed me another playful smile. He was definitely teasing me, at least a little, but I just couldn't stay mad at him when he made that expression. Honestly, Arnold, you're treating me like a kid, even I'm a fully grown mademoiselle.
分かってるって。
In the end, I let him get away with it. We walked along the gloomy path home, hand in hand. Okay. Damn, holding hands. Arnold had been kidding about his hands being rather frigid. I could tell he really had been waiting by the gate for quite some time. He made it all seem like a big joke, but as usual, that was just to cover up how kind and considerate he was being toward me. Walking with his hand wrapped around mine made me feel that kindness all the more keenly. It really has been a long time since we walked home like this. Wonder how long exactly though. Feels like it's been a few years at least.
手をつないで帰るなんて何年ぶりだろうな。
は？
え？だからさ、昔はこうやって手をつないで歩いたりしてたの。
Hey Spencer. And holding them. Bro, we got a I did, yes, but that's not it. I was just a little surprised since I was wondering the exact same thing.
ああ、やっぱり思うよな。なんか懐かしい感じ。
It really does. I think the last time was back when we were still in Paris, probably. I feel like we'd mostly stopped by the time we moved to platform.
そうだな。
Arnaud replied with a smile, but a moment later he felt quiet. He walked along in silence for some time. The longer the pause in the conversation persisted, the more awkward I felt about holding his hand. Okay. Hey, Spencer. We'll be lurking due to celebrate Chinese New Year at relatives' house playing Just Dance 2026. Damn. Hope you have fun, Spencer. Finally, it grew so unbearable that I just had to restart the conversation myself. It's been so long since we've done this, it's making me a little nervous.
そうか?
Yes, just a little though. It's so strange that I'm making such a big deal out of holding hands with an old friend.
幼馴染か.
Oh. Man got friend zoned. I thought that Arnold would laugh it off again, but instead he muttered to himself and squeezed my hand harder than before. What is it?
いや、なんでもない。
He adjusted his grip, then flashed me a smile.
緊張してるから、いつも以上に子供体温なのかと思ってさ。手が。
It's not that warm, is it?
暖かいよ。ずっと握っていたいくらい。
We just started and bro already got friend zone. Yeah. Since when did you hate the cold that much?
今だけかもな。
Damn, okay.
そういえばさっき、朝のトラブルはなんとかなったって言ってたけど、よくあの短時間で解決できたな。あのマネージは遊園地の目玉なんだろ？動かさないわけにはいかないだろうし。もう治ったのか？
Arnold had left before the park opened, so he didn't know how the situation had been resolved. There hadn't been much time left before opening when he departed though, so his confusion made sense. They managed to do some emergency repairs on it, just enough to keep it running for the day. They'll be giving it a full servicing tonight, apparently.
へえ、そうなのか。よほど腕のいい技師がいるんだな。
Arnold had the same look on his face that he did when he was working on an article. His interest was clearly piqued, so I tried to think back and provide more details for him. I met the mechanic who maintains it for the first time today. His name is Lucille, and he managed to figure out what was causing the manège to break down. Apparently a piston that moves the lower portion of the manège wasn't moving properly. Needs to be replaced really, but that would have been far too long to get it working in time for the park's opening. We had to get the piston repaired enough to work for just a day, so I... Uh-oh. Says Arnold nodded along, listening to my every word. I realized I had walked straight into a problem. Do not. If I tell him I use magic to fix the manège, he might end up worrying about me. Arnold was always worrying about what would happen if the people around me learned that I was a witch. I knew he just didn't want me to be subjected to prejudice by people who assume all witches were evil. That's why I took his advice, trying to use my magic as little as possible, and never admitting my true nature in public. Okay, yeah, it's fine, Izuku. If he knew that I had to use magic for this job, There's a chance he might tell me that I should quit.
補助するために
I help out with the maintenance. They ended up swapping in a temporary part to replace it. Felt like a slightly forced explanation to me, but Arnaud didn't seem to question it.
エマも手伝ったのか。すごいな。まだ働き始めて間もないのに。
I wonder about that.
俺が新聞社で働き始めた頃は怒られてばかりだったからさ。すごいと思うよ、本当に。
Thank you. Well, I hadn't exactly meant to lie, it just happened. As a result, I couldn't appreciate his compliment the way I normally would. And I couldn't open up about having used my magic either. I felt bad for deceiving Arnold, but it was too late to backpedal and tell the truth. I'm sure he'd be opposed to me awakening my magic as well if I opened up about it. I couldn't walk back my promise to free everyone from their bait though. More than anything, I wanted to be of use to everyone. And this was my one way of making that happen. I have to try and finish this as soon as possible before Arnold has a chance to find out about it. And that means I have to focus as hard as I can on awakening my magic. It felt like I'd finally brought my feelings back under control. Come to think of it though, this might be the first time I've ever kept a secret from Arnold. Only for guilt to once again prick my heart just moments later. Oh. The next morning, I got up at the usual time to see Arnold off as he went to work. He prepared to mount his bike as always. Instead of pedaling away like I'd expected though, he paused to think for a moment then turned to look at me.
今日も遊園地で仕事なんだよな。
Yes, I am. Oh, were you thinking of stopping by to pick me up after work yet?
迎えにっていうか、今日は昼過ぎに取材しに行くよ。閉園までいるから一緒に帰ろう。
Oh, I see. In that case, let's.
じゃ、また後で。
Okay. Until closing, will that mean... Okay, you have to do your, whole magic thingy right away then. With that, Arnold climbed onto his bike and sped away. I was proud of him for being so dedicated to his work, but at the same time, I was a little worried. I can't risk letting Arnold see me practice my magic. Yep. So I'll have to skip my usual afternoon training. He said he'll be working on the article all week long, though I can't afford to skip practice every single day. I'll never improve that way. I suppose I'll just have to squeeze in extra practice before the park opens. That should do the trick. Quickly tidied myself, then left for the repeat earlier than I usually would. Oh. Minigame time.
Focus して臨んでほしい。頑張れ。意識を集中させるんだ。悪くない。ヒューゴの望みが叶う日も近そうだ。
Feels like I'm getting so close to finally grasping something. But it's almost time for the park to open. I should stop for today. Monday's practice had made it clear to me that making up for my lack of afternoon sessions in the morning was not going to be feasible. Tried not to fixate on my growing sense of unease. Instead, I began to prepare for today's work. Well, my work that morning went by smoothly. The director asked me to go out to buy some parts for the automatons, and I returned just a little after noon. I headed to the administrative tent to deliver the parts, but the director wasn't in. I ended up walking around the park searching for him. Where could he be? Won't feel right to not inform him I've returned. Finally found him near the MANÈGE, smiling happily at the crowd of visitors clustered around it.
Yeah, おかえり。無事買い出しは終わったかな?
I did, yes, but I'm concerned I might not have bought the exact parts you wanted. Would you mind checking them when you have the moment? I left them in the administrative tent.
ありがとう。助かるよ。
After I finished my report, the director stepped closer, leaned in, and lowered his voice.
今日は朝からずいぶん魔法の訓練を頑張っていたんだね。
Oh, yes, since I probably won't be able to practice this evening after the park closes.
そうだったんだね。たまには休んでもいいんだよ。
I can't slack off too much though, otherwise I'll never make any progress.
君は真面目だね。仕事もそうだけれど、これからも無理をせずに頑張ってほしいな。
The director chuckled quietly, then gently patted my head. Hey, Jelly! Coming by to earn the Bean Boozle points. Okay. Strangely enough, I felt the tension drain away from me as he did so. Couldn't explain why.
精神状態は魔法にも反映されるというからね。焦らず楽しみながらやっていこう。君には十分助けられているからね。
I appreciate you saying that. The director's absolutely right, and I feel a little bit better about the situation now that he's pointed all of that out. The compliment and head pat had me feeling a little bashful as well, of course, but as I blushed, a voice rang out behind me.
随分仲良くなったんだな。
Oh. The voice's tone was rather accusatory, and the director pulled his hand away. I spun around in shock and found Arnaud standing behind me. Well,
こんにちは、ヒューゴさん。今日も例の取材をさせてもらいます。
ああ、構わないよ。
Arnold greeted the director as if nothing at all was unusual. Next thing I knew, however, he stepped between the two of us and added another rather pointed comment.
それと、エマと仲良くなりたいなら、俺を通してください。ただでさえ帰りが遅くて心配なので。
Whoa. Huh? Maybe I hadn't been misreading his tone after all. It was coming across even more aggressively now, enough to shock me. Yeah. Arnold, please, you're being rude. And besides, the director was just giving me advice or, well, encouragement, I suppose. The same goes for getting home late. It's just been a matter of circumstances.
だとしても、幼馴染として心配だから、一言言っておきたかったんだ。
But that doesn't... Just as it seemed we were about to devolve into a genuine quarrel, the director stepped in to gently correct the conversation's course.
そうだね。 君が心配するのも当然だ。彼女への態度には十分気をつけるよ。もちろん他のこともね。
なら構いませんが。
気になることがあればいつでも言ってくれていい。それじゃあ俺は部品の確認に行こうかな。
With that, the director strolled away. You'd think nothing had happened at all, judging by his attitude. Arnold, on the other hand, looked distinctly uncomfortable when I turned to face him. You need to complain like that again. I'd prefer it you'd do so directly to me and in private.
ごめん。ただ、心配なのは本当だ。
I understand that, and I apologize as well. I'll make sure to inform you in advance if I know I'll be getting home late. Quite certain that you're misunderstanding things when it comes to the director, though. Treats everyone else exactly as kindly as he treats me.
そうか。
I mean, yeah, he does. You're worrying too much. It's alright, trust me. Arnold nodded in acknowledgement, but his thoughts so seemed to be elsewhere. Can't imagine he doesn't understand after all that, though. So then, are you going to collect material now? Should I lead you around the park?
いや、平気だ。用があったら声をかけるよ。
Alright then. Good luck with your article.
あ。
Oh, well, you have a good night, Julian. As such, I decided to believe that if he wasn't convinced by my explanation, he would have made that very clear to me. It's odd to see him act so aggressively with someone he doesn't know well, though much less someone he's writing an article about. I should try not to make him worry from now on, especially if I want my secrets to stay away. Okay. I went on my way leaving Arnold to his own devices. Well, okay then. So...
でも、あいつだけはダメだ。
Huh? Eh? Okay. I shifted the timing of my magical practice to keep it a secret from Arnold, but in the end, that change was convenient in more ways than I'd anticipated. It meant that I could make it home while it was still light out, for one thing. That would put Arnold and Madame Alice's mind at ease, and frankly, my own as well. Even so, Arnold made a point of visiting to collect data for his story, then walking me home on a daily basis. He was being so considerate, it version over overprotectiveness, but he seemed to be making steady progress with his work at least. In the end, several days passed without me feeling the need to comment. Hi there on the YouTube chat, hi. I suppose this isn't the first time that Arnold's gotten so concerned with me, is it? I'm sure that's why he always held my hand when we walked around together in Paris. Probably feels that way because of the accident. Yeah, I lost my father in my memory, so it's no wonder he'd be a little protective. Considering that, I could hardly blame him for worrying that he might end up having to go through the same thing all over again. I was sitting on the bench and enjoying... I'm not sure what that is. As I mulled over the matter. Leon had given me a few earlier, and he told me to eat them during my break. They were rich and delicious, Their bold almond flavor was a particularly nice touch. Oh. Eating something sweet never fails to turn my mood around. Sure that Arnaud's just not used to the idea of me having a job yet. It happened so suddenly after all. Instead of getting irritated about him being overly concerned about me, I should try being as considerate toward him as he is to me. He is my oldest friend after all. Finish sorting out my feelings, polish off my pastries, and glance around. As I was trying to decide how to spend the rest of my break, I happened to catch the sight of Arnold. Oh, he's here again. Okay.
お疲れ。休憩か?
Yes, that's right. We don't have many visitors today, so I was told to take as much time as I wanted to relax.
じゃあ、俺も取材を中断して休憩にするかな。
Oh, I had some... I'm not sure what that is. I guess it's some kind of pastry. Just a moment ago, but I finished them. I should have saved one for you.
いいよ。甘いものはお前の方が好きだろ。
I know, but they really were delicious. I would have liked for you to try one.
へえ、そんなに。
Really, their outsides were nice and crisp, but the insides were soft and fluffy. They were perfectly bite-sized, and eating them in one go made the almond flavoring so pronounced. As I described the pastries in painstaking detail, Arnold sat down next to me and quietly listened. He nodded along to my explanation, then smiled when I was finished.
俺はその嬉しそうな顔を見るだけで十分。
Hey, Yukian. And I suppose if I'm given any more sweets, I'll tell you all about them.
あ、楽しみにしてる。にしても、仕事の時までお前と一緒にいられるなんて、レイブに感謝だな。
So you haven't gotten sick of me yet, despite seeing me at home every single day?
飽きるわけないだろ。仕事も大切だけど、エマも大切だから。
Is that because you're worried about me?
まあ、それもあるけど、それができるのも、取材の間だけだしな。
Don't worry, I'll be making an effort to get home earlier, even after you're finished with your research. If I leave right after park closes, I'll still be light out during the walk home.
そうしてくれ。それか、遅くなるときは事前に言ってくれれば、迎えに行くから。
I'll do that, thank you.
あ、その方が俺が安心できる。
I thought that walking me home like that would be an awful lot of trouble for him, but if that's what it took to set his mind at ease, I didn't see a need to protest. Just tell me if it's taking too much time for you, though. I don't want to be a burden.
お前のことを負担だなんて思わないけど、その時はそう言うよ。しかし、ゆったり座って話してると、眠気が。
Arnold let out a yawn, which reminded me that he seemed unusually tired that morning at breakfast as well. Not that I could talk, considering I'd gotten up early to handle some chores myself. You really do look tired.
昨日遅くまで起きてたから、寝不足で。
Oh, really? Were you busy with work?
仕事もしていたけど、主にはだな。父さんに手紙を書かなきゃいけなかったから。
Oh.
ああ、エマには言ってなかったけど、父さんには毎月手紙を送ってるんだ。本当に簡単な内容でさ、みんなは元気か、最近変わったことはないかとか、一言書いて送っているだけなんだけどさ。
Okay.
ブランブールに引っ越すと決めた
How
時
are
に
you? Doing fine.
そう約束していたから。
Arnold's father, Daniel, was a general in the army of France. When he moved to Blackboard, his work had forced him to stay behind in his estate in Paris.
とは言っても、だいたい3ヶ月に一度は屋敷に顔を出しているし、面倒なだけなんだけどな。
So Daniel was incredibly devoted to his work. Even when we lived in Paris, he'd spend most of his time out of the house. I only remembered speaking to him on a few occasions. And he hadn't even said goodbye when I'd moved to Blackboard. He had always struck me as a stout-hearted man. Part of me had always wondered if he wasn't only living so far from his family. Didn't he worry about them at all? If he asked Arnaud to write him once a month, then maybe I had the wrong idea about him after all. I'm sure that having you write to him must be very reassuring for Monsieur Daniel. It may feel like a waste, but it's worth the effort.
そうだな。これも親孝行と思ってやるしかないか。
Arnold stifled a yawn as he replied. It really does seem sleepy. In that case... saving. So, would you like to rest for a moment? Not many people come to this part of the park around this time of day. Why not close your eyes for a moment?
ああ、そうしようかな。
Arnold started to lie down, but then he glanced around the area before looking over at me. I blinked, confused, and noticed a smile spreading across his face. That was the expression he always made when he was about to play a prank on someone. Oh boy.
一緒に寝たいって聞こえた気がする。
I most certainly did not.
じゃあ、俺は一緒に寝たい。
Oh. Oh, honestly, you remember we're both on the clock, don't you?
まあ冗談だけどさ。軽く目を閉じて休憩しとくか。
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. I nodded, only for Arnold to scoot right up next to me on the bench.
だったら
Oh. Yep, I knew it.
肩貸してくれ。
Yeah, I knew it. Arnold had already leaned onto my shoulder before he'd even finished asking. You're going to sleep like this?
眠るなら枕が必要だろ。
Yeah, okay. But what if someone saw us? Wouldn't you be embarrassed?
あまり人が来ないってお前が言ったんだろ。
I did, but still.
嫌ならどけていいよ。
You know perfectly well that I can't say no after a line like that.
あ、エマならそうだろうと思った。
You just don't play fair, Arnold.
ごめん。
In spite of his apology, Arnold clearly had no intention to move. He kept his head rested gently on my shoulder for some time. Eventually, his breathing slowed to a regular rhythm. He really did fall asleep. Must have been exhausted. Can't believe he managed it that quickly. Ringo, hi. Hey there. Arnold was close enough to me that I could clearly feel his body heat. Damn, okay. When I turned my head, I could just make out his face. Looked so innocent when he was asleep. It was like he was a child all over again. Still, it's easy to convince myself that he hasn't changed at all when I look at him like this. Okay. Hey, MC. As I gaze at Arnold's face, all my memories with him, the many days that we'd spent together, drifted through my mind, warming my heart. And before I knew it, my own eyelids began to grow heavy. Oh, okay.
エマ、起きないと風邪ひくぞ。
Oh. A voice by my ear startled me into wakefulness, and I sat up with a start. Oh, yep. I opened my eyes to find Arnaud smiling before me.
寝てた。おはよ
Sorry, I was planning on waking up after you'd rested for a moment, not falling asleep with you.
う。別にいいよ。エマの寝顔可愛かったし。
Damn, okay. I suppose I thought the same thing about him just a moment ago. Still, hearing him say it to my face made me feel rather bashful. I looked away, doing my best to act unperturbed, and noticed that Arnold's jacket was draped across my lap.
いや、平気。俺はお前にくっついてたから寒くなかったよ。礼なんていいよ。俺のせいで動けなくて居眠りしたんだろうし、風邪ひかせたら大変だ。それに、礼をしてくれるなら。
Arnold closed his eyes, sinking into thought for a moment, then looked straight at me.
キスがいいな。
Hey, the way he was looking at me told me that this was another of his pranks. He shoved his jacket onto his hands. Honestly, you're just as much of a jokester as the director. Anyway, I have to get back to my job now. You still need to work on your article too, don't you? I stood up and brushed the wrinkles out of my uniform. Arnold, however, didn't move an inch. I glanced over to find his expression had changed entirely. Now he looked as serious as could be.
ヒューゴさんがそんなことを言ったのか
No. His tone was harsh and aggressive. It reminded me of how he behaved the other day, and I rushed to clarify myself. Yeah, I'm quite certain that he only meant it as a joke. It's something you have to worry about. But yes, work. I've been on break for a while, a little too long myself. We're just out of the pavilion and back to our jobs. Arnold, rather reluctantly, went along with it. Seems like something about the director really gets under Arnold's skin. I should try to avoid bringing him up in the future. Sus.
アルノーさんが書いたレイブの記事が載るの週末だったわよね。
Yes, that's right. He said that we might want to be ready for a surge in visitors starting next week.
そうなの。楽しみね。今日はその分暇みたいだけど。
Clara wasn't kidding. Compared to a typical day, we'd had very few visitors overall. There were still 30 minutes left until closing time, yet there was hardly a visitor to be seen. Almost everyone had already left. If there was a concert scheduled in town today, Arnold said he'd be going to report on it.
なるほどね。
For lack of visitors to interact with, Clara and I ended up killing time by chatting with each other. Eventually, the director wandered over to us.
お疲れ様。少し早いけれど、今日はもう門を閉めてしまったんだ。
そうなの？これからお客さんが来たりしないかしら？
実はマネージがまた不調でね。そのメンテナンスもしたいんだ。お客さんが来たら俺が対応するよ。
With that, the director and Clara said their goodbyes and got to work shutting the park down for the evening. Suppose that leaves you without much to do for the rest of the day. Maybe I'll try to squeeze in a little magic practice. I've been working on my magic every morning, but that alone didn't feel like quite enough to make the sort of progress I desired. I had started working here, further the goal of freeing everyone. After all, didn't want to put the cart before the horse by prioritizing my non-magical work. Bro is being straightforward, yeah. At the very least, I wanted to use any spare time I had to squeeze in what practice I could, and so I stood before the manège and prepared myself. Oh boy.
それじゃあ始めましょう。集中してください。魔法の光を捉えて。コツをつかんだみたいですね。僕から言うことはありません。火の打ちどころがないという意味ですよ。
It feels like I've been making some sort of progress. But with how little time I've had to devote to my magic lately, it's hard for me to judge. In any case, it's closing time. Should be heading home. Arnold might get worried and come pick me up again if I stay too late. No sooner had the thought cross my mind than a voice rang out from behind me. Uh-oh. Couldn't stop myself from jumping with shock. Oh boy. Did he see? I slowly, timidly turned around to find Arnold standing behind me. What?
どうしてって。アステル記事の最終確認をしに来たんだよ。
Oh, did he see everything? I thought he was angry at first, but soon I came to realize I misread him. Arnold let out a quiet sigh and started trying to understand what he'd witnessed.
今のは魔法だよな。
It was magic, yes, but there are some circumstances that made me use it.
事情って、それは俺に言えない事情なのか。
Right. I understood why this would come as a shock to him, and it was only natural he'd ask me for my reasons. For years he'd done his best to make sure nobody would come to the conclusion that I was an evil witch. Time after time, he'd urged me to never use magic in front of others. Okay, well, yeah. For lack of another option, I decided to tell him the truth. Told Arnold everything from the start to finish. I explained that the vast majority of the Reveille had been conjured up with magic, and I told him how the Reveille staff were magically bound to the park, unable to set foot outside its grounds. I said that I was working to awaken my magic with the ultimate goal of setting them free, and that being a witch was in fact the reason why the director had hired me to begin with. Once I'd finally finished repeating everything, Arnold closed his eyes and let out a long heavy sigh.
理由は分かった。お前が俺に黙っていたことも理解はできる。
Yes, that's right. I'm sorry.
正直、ものすごく複雑だけど。 でも言えない状況にさせたのは俺なんだし、それでもやっぱり反対だ。その霊部からの解放っていうのはお前にしかできないことなのか？他に手段はないのか？別の魔女でもできることなんじゃないのか？
I think I know why, but it was only then that I was truly struck by my own feelings. Arnold had told me for years that I shouldn't use magic in front of people. For so long, I'd believed him and made an effort to not do so. It was the same as how I'd been going home early to ease his anxiety and how I intended to keep doing so. I knew intellectually that Arnold's concerns weren't misplaced, but this is something that I decide for myself. Not necessarily saying that you're wrong, just that even if you aren't, I don't intend to change my mind. I want to see this through.
ヒューゴさんに頼まれてやっていたんじゃなく。
These requests is why it all started, but that wasn't the only reason why I decided to help. I've lived my whole life hiding the fact that I'm a witch, and so when someone sought me out for my power for the very first time, I was happy. Taking steps to ensure that nobody else learns my secret, of course, but the people who work here don't hate me because of my magic. Far from it. They're all supporting me. Oh, we have an ad break though. Ah. Yeah, let's wait on the ad break and that's a 3-minute ad break, so we can wait on it before I continue. Okay, ad break is done, so yeah, I'll continue reading on this then. So if there's a chance where magic can be of use to them, I want to do my best to make it happen. Arnold seemed deeply conflicted and broke eye contact.
俺だってお前にはやりたいことを好きなようにやってほしいし、縛り付けたいわけじゃない。
He spoke so softly, I almost couldn't hear him before I could ask him what he meant. However, Arnold seemed to resolve himself.
魔法を使うのはこれっきりだって約束してくれ。一度だけ。今回だけだ。
Yeah.
ここの人たちが魔法に協力的なのは、霊部から解放されたいからっていうのもあるだろう。他の人間とは違う。どこから情報が漏れるかもわからない。だから父さんや母さんにもこのことは言うなよ。
That's true. I won't.
昔あった魔女狩りみたいなことがまた起きないとも限らないだろう。そんな目には合わせたくない。お前が魔女だとバレたら、俺もどれだけ守ってやれるかわからないし、怖い思いをしてほしくないんだ。分かってくれ。例えばの話だよ。お前が怯える必要はないけど、でも
I understand. And I definitely understand how you feel, Arnold. This will be the first and last time. You're alright with that. Arnold still seemed worried about me, but he nodded anyway.
ああ、今回だけなら。それと霊部の人間以外には絶対に魔女だって知られないように注意してくれ。
Thank you, Arnold. I will. I promise.
でもその魔法の訓練っていうのはいつやってるんだ？
I used to practice before the park opened and after it closed, but recently I've only been training before opening. In either case, once the gates are closed, there's nobody around to see me, well, other than the refugee staff. You're the only other person who's been coming and going off hours.
魔法の件は確かにそれで大丈夫か？
Arnold paused to think, then proposed a preposterous plan with a look of complete earnestness.
これからは俺が毎日送り迎えをする。仕事はなんとか都合をつけるから。
Okay. What? But I just explained that it would be fine if I just...
それは魔法のことだろう。お前への心配はそれだけじゃないんだ。
No matter how worried you are, every day is just too much. How would you even manage that?
毎日じゃないと意味ないだろう。俺が送り迎えしなかった日に何かあったら困る。
Maybe so, but still, I couldn't possibly expect
お
you
前が
to...
今回のことを譲れないって言うなら、俺も譲れない。これが俺からの条件だ。
Okay. Marley, hi. Arnold had no interest in compromising, which brought a question to my mind. Are you so dedicated to watching out for me and protecting me? Just because you're preoccupied by my accident 7 years ago? Arnold's eyes widened ever so slightly. A moment later, he replied with a question of his own.
なんでそう思うんだ？
I've suspected it for some time now. You're always worried about whether I'll be in danger, or whether or not people would think I'm a witch. So I thought that what you might really be worried about is the same thing happening all over again. You've always told me that there's no need to force myself to drag up all the memories I've lost, that I don't have to remember anything painful. But not everything I lost was painful. The truth is, I forgot about meeting you too. Could it be that in truth you wish I really did remember? Could it be that I hurt you by forgetting it all?
そんなことない。同じような事故に遭ってほしくないと思っているのは事実だけど、そのことを気にして言ってるんじゃない。無理に思い出す必要はないって今も思ってる。俺は
Arnold seemed to be at loss for words, paused, then let out a slow extended sigh. He looked me in the eye once more, a pained expression on his face.
お前が大切だから取り返しのつかないことが起こって後から後悔するのは嫌なんだ。
Arnaud took my hand. He didn't avert his gaze for a moment. There was just no way I could refuse his proposal, not when he gave me that look. Next day, Arnold began his escort routine. Walked me to RVA in the mornings and back from it in the evenings. I asked him how that worked with his schedule, and he told me he started bringing work home with him to make up for it. Felt like he was taking on way too much responsibility. On the other hand, he seemed happy as could be whenever we were walking together. He would hold my hand just about every day, and he always made a point of bringing up topics to discuss that I'd be interested in. When we were just chatting, it almost felt like he'd gone back to the way he used to be. Ever since he started working, he's been so busy that we barely have any time to be around each other. Honestly, I'm enjoying this as much as he is. That said, the fact of the matter was that we hadn't gone back to the way we used to be at all. And these days, being this close to him is a little much. He wrapped his arm around my shoulder to steer me away from puddles or passing vehicles and hold my hand to ward off the cold. It didn't stop when we got home either. Recently, he'd taken to helping me with random tasks while I was doing housework. Seemed like he was always right nearby. Feels like Arnold's attitude has changed since I started working at the FBA. When I think back on it, the first time he came to the park for his article was strange too.
じゃあもっと変なことを言おうか、エマ。俺はお前のことが好きだ。
He's been telling me so many strange jokes lately. And he's shown no reservations about doing so in town or in front of Madame Alice, much to my discomfort. I'm just glad that Madame Alice is calm enough to not make a big deal out of it. Most people around town getting the wrong idea and talking about us, though. And something about that rubs me the wrong way. Felt like for every problem I solved, another sprang up to take its place. Days passed by in much the same manner. One day after the park closed, I changed out of my uniform and made my way to the front gate as usual. Found Arnold chatting with Clara as he waited for me.
もちろんエマの話。二人とも本当に仲がいいのね。
Oh, I suppose so.
ああ、昔から仲はいいよ。一緒に住んでるしな。
そうだけど、自分の仕事もあるのに毎日送り迎えなんて優しい恋人よね。
Huh? Wait a moment. You have it all wrong. Arnold and I aren't in that sort of relationship. We're just old friends.
恋人じゃないの？てっきりそうだと思ってた。
俺の片思いなんだ。
Huh?
そうなの？
He's being very direct, I see. Arnold said it with a smile that seemed to fluster Clara even more than before.
ごめんごめん。
冗談なの？本気かと思った。
We do get along, yes, but that's all there is to it.
わかったからさ。そろそろ行こう。じゃあ、俺たちはこれで。
Arnold set off ahead of me without another word. Gave Clara a hurried goodbye, then chased after him. Is Arnold upset? Well, he hasn't said a word since we left the RPA. He hadn't held my hand either. We just walked along together in silence. His pace seemed a little faster than usual as well. Maybe I should have phrased it a little more gently, but couldn't help it. It's been weighing on my mind for so long. And again...
俺の片思いなんだ。
そうなの？
At the time, I generally assumed it was a joke, but now I wasn't so sure. Arnold has always been like family to me. He was closer to me than any other man had ever been, yes, but neither of us had ever broached the subject of romance. I've been this way for a whole 7 years. But now all of a sudden I'm starting to wonder if I was wrong. What if this whole time it's been... Well, now I'm just thinking about, well... I was so preoccupied by my thoughts that I failed to watch where I was walking and tripped over the cobblestone. Arnold, however, held out an arm and caught me before I could fall.
いや、
He'd ended up more or less embracing me. I reflexively tried to pull away, but he kept his hands firmly on my shoulders. He stared into my eyes as I said his name, only for a response to come from a completely different direction. Oh.
おいおい、こんなところでイチャついてたら邪魔だよ。
He jumped to the side of the road, and the man who looked like he was 3 sheets to the wind staggered past us. Arnold meanwhile fell back into a stubborn silence. Couldn't leave it unquestioned any longer. Are you upset about something? If so, I'd prefer you to just come out and tell me.
別に怒ってるわけじゃない。
Uh-huh. Well then, what's wrong? You've been acting so weird lately.
おかしい。
You never acted like this before, at least. Arnold felt quiet again, and I lost my patience. You've been saying things that make everyone misinterpret our relationship, and you've been so touchy lately. I looked up at Arnold as I spoke, but suddenly a shadow passed across the field of my vision and blocked him out. Oh.
おかしくなんかない。これまではずっと我慢してただけだ。
Oh.
でも我慢したって変わらない。そう気づいたから。もう隠すのはやめた。
We're just on chapter 4.
お前のことがずっと前から好きだった。ずっと。出会った頃から。
Well, that escalated quickly. Yep, we're just on chapter 4, by the way.
今の関係が崩れたとしても。
I think we have like
今伝
4
えな
more
いとダメだと思った
chapters
んだ。お前が困るのは分かっていたけど。
We lived together for years, but this is the first time I'd ever heard Arnaud sound so anguished.
周りに勘違いされるようなことをするのも勘違いされたいからしていただけだ。
Arnold really trying to speedrun this route right now.
毎日送り迎えをするのももちろんお前が心配なのもあるけど、それだけじゃない。俺が想像していたよりもずっとお前はレイブやヒューゴさんたちに思い入れているみたいだったから、あの人たちより近くにいたいと思ったんだ。お前を取られたくない。まさかもう誰かと付き合ってるのか？
No. I was the star I forgot to breathe, but Arnold just kept looking at me, his expression as tormented as
で
ever.
も今後そういうこともあるかもしれない。 その時黙って見ているなんて俺にはできないし、もうこれ以上は。
I flinched away as he shouted at me. My Sharon seemed to notice. That realization snapped him back to his senses.
ごめん。こんなつもりじゃなかったのに、覚悟を決めたら、ちゃんと言おうと思ってたんだ。勢いなんかじゃなく、俺の意志で。だから、もう一度聞いてくれ。
Arnaud spoke slowly, deliberately, and so quietly that only I would hear
俺
it.
はお前が好きだ。
Really jelly over? Yeah.
幼馴染の好きじゃなく、恋人になりたい。いつかは結婚したい。そういう好きだ。初めて会った時から可愛いと思っていたし、お前は俺の憧れで、一緒にいる時間が何より楽しかった。その時のぼんやりとした気持ちじゃなく、恋なんてあやふやな言葉じゃなく、お前がそばにいてくれないとダメなんだ。俺が守ってやりたい。他の誰でもなく、俺が。たとえそんな資格がなかったとしても、この7年諦めることなんてできなかったし、きっとそれはこれからも変わらない。おかしくもないし、勘違いでもない。間違いなく俺はお前に片思いをしていて、お前がそれにどんな返事をしても、きっとこの思いは変わらない。俺はずっとお前を好きだし、ずっとお前を守ろうと思ってる。本当は好きだって言ってほしいけど、好きだって言ってくれって言いたいけど、でもお前はそういうの好きじゃないだろ。せめてお前の答えが出るまでは、俺の一番そばにいて、俺を見てくれ。そして俺のことを考えてくれ。お前の一番になれるかどうか。
Arnold's words at the end of his speech were especially quiet and gentle. After that, he released me and stepped away. Felt like everything he'd said was slowly seeping into my heart. He made it clear how serious and sincere his feelings were, and how they'd accumulated over the years he'd formed them. I just never realized it. Oh boy. Save.
そのごめんは返事のごめんじゃないよな。今じゃなくていい。ずっと我慢してたって言っただろ。ただ伝えたかったんだ。俺の気持ちを。今のは伝わったよな。
Yes.
ならよかった。ちゃんと聞いてくれて。
Arnold's smile was so genuine. It really did seem like he was satisfied with just that. I was expecting him to call me dense or to tease me like he always does. Arnold's always so kind at times like these, isn't he? Arnold's feelings were as sincere and earnest as could be. However, the many years we had spent with each other stood in opposition to them. Couldn't change how I saw him that easily, and that meant it would be just as hard to find an answer to give him. Need some time to think about this.
考えさせてほしいってことは、可能性はゼロじゃないってことだよな。
Yeah. Well...
ごめん、もちろんいいよ。その間は俺のこと真剣に考えてくれるってことだろ。
Yes, I will. Promise.
嬉しいよ。ありがとう、エマ。
Arnold smiled, even as he looked like he might break down in tears. It was an expression that would linger in my memory for a very long time. By the time we arrived home and sat down for dinner with Madame Alice, Arnold had returned to his usual self. Here I am, getting embarrassed if I so much as look him in the eye. Oh, it's gonna be awkward for a bit. I'd been too surprised and bewildered to completely take it all in when he poured out his heart to me. But when I thought back on everything that had happened, he said some rather incredible things to me. He'd always made it clear that I'm important to him, but telling me that he loves me, that I'm cute, that thought that he's seen me that way this whole time is a little hard to cope with. Fair. Found myself glancing over at him. Arnold nods my gaze and smiled back at me.
どうした?
It's nothing.
そうか? じゃあ俺ちょっと仕事があるから。おやすみ、母さん、エマ。
おやすみ、あるの?
Okay. I watched Arnold head off to his room, then turned back to Madame Alice. When I did, I found her staring intently at me. Oh. Hey, Cheryl. Yeah, thanks for dropping by. Is something the matter?
どうかって、エマこそ何かあったの?
Huh? Madame Alice was all smiles as she expanded her line of inquiry.
違ったらごめんなさいね。アルノと何かあったんじゃないかと思って。
Why would you think that?
だって食事中に何度もアルノを見ていたでしょ。あまりに不自然だったから。
Was that obvious? Was I really that obvious? Well, maybe. Hmm.
私が見ていたことも分かっていないんじゃ、よっぽどよね。もしかして告白されたとか？
I lapsed into a stunned silence and Madame Alice happily clapped her hands together.
あら、否定しないってことは当たりかしら。アルノは昔からあなたのことが大好きだものね。
Well, she is his mom, so I guess she would know, right? So, Madame Alice, you might become my mother-in-law. You mean you knew?
もちろんよ。私の子供だしね。
Yeah, fair, yeah.
でも
She is the mom.
本人は隠しているつもりみたいだから。これは秘密ね。
I'll be careful, yes.
ありがとう。
Alice spoke with an even kinder smile than she usually wore.
エマがアルノーのお嫁さんになってくれるなら、私は大賛成よ。
Huh?
でも、決めるのはあなたですものね。断ったら家を出て行けなんて言わないから、安心して決めてちょうだい。アルノーだってそう思っているはずよ。あなたがどういう結論を出しても、あなたが大切なことに変わりはないはずだし。それに、あなたがいなくなったら私が寂しくなっちゃう。
They're both very straightforward.
アルノーのことは気にしなくていいから、一緒にいてちょうだいね。
Madame Alice gave me a playful wink. I hadn't even considered that far ahead, but now that she'd mentioned it, it struck me that leaving with Arnold after I turned him down would indeed be rather awkward. Maybe that's part of why he kept his feelings to himself for so long. I'm still a little confused, to be honest. I've never really fallen for anyone before.
そうだったのね。 じゃあたくさん悩みましょう。恋ってそういうものだし。どちらにしても応援するわね。
It was clear how much care Madame Alice was taking to respect my feelings. I was moved by her kindness.
いいえ。それじゃあ今日は早めに休むわね。おやすみ、エマ。
My mood had gone through a complete reversal between arriving at home and returning to my room. I'd been utterly bewildered after my conversation with Arnold, but now I could hardly have felt more differently about the situation. Alice really does care deeply about me, and Arnold does too. Perhaps even more so. This abrupt change in attitude had surprised me so much. I hounded him for an explanation, but now I regretted that choice. He was keeping it a secret because he knew it would make me uncomfortable. Forcing the truth out of him was insensitive of me. But then again, if I'd gone on without knowing how he felt, I may have hurt him even more deeply someday. In that sense, it's probably for the best that I learned about it now. Yeah. Better to know it as soon as possible. I took a few slow, deep breaths as I tried to sort out my feelings. Ever since my parents passed away and the Vincents took me in, Arnold's always been by my side. He's my oldest friend and he's important to me. He's cheerful, sociable, and friendly in spite of his childish side. And he does his best to stay by my side and protect me from danger. Oh, hi, John. Hey, John, how was RE? Oh, and there's Dean. How was RE? They die a lot? I lost count? Ah, so the usual. Yeah, how was RE5? I'm in mass. Uh-huh. Uh-huh, so how many deaths? Did I not? Was there a definite number counted? 22 deaths? Damn, okay. Damn. And most of those deaths, what caused it? Thank you for the head pats, Rui. Yeah, we're just playing otome game at the moment. I'm trying to get to probably end of chapter 5. There's a pudding. Pudding is cute. Yeah, it is. When my dad was alive, we lived in Paris. I met Arnold and made friends with him and died. Forgot all about it. But Arnaud never once blamed me for that. Far from it, he did his best to befriend me all over again. I'm sure he was sad to know that I'd forgotten all those happy memories, but he prioritized my feelings in spite of that. I lost my parents one after the other, leaving me all alone. I was sad, lonely, and couldn't even smile anymore. What? 66? Really? There was 66? What the fuck? The fuck killed you guys? Well, he was always there. Always so positive and ready to cheer me up. I learned from his example and decided to do my best to pick myself up as well. Celtic boy. Also the local, I have no idea what that means, but I guess it was a big dude. I mentally went through everything there was to know about, both his good points and his bad ones. Of course, just like I knew all of his strengths and weaknesses, he surely knew all of mine. Even so, he still said that he loves me. Also, we're just on the end of chapter 4, and guy we're going with is already confessing, so here we are. I was happy to hear he felt that way. When all was said and done, I considered him a special person to me. But does that mean that I love him? I still don't know how. I still don't know for sure. What even is up to begin with? I've never been in love, so how am I supposed to know? No matter how much I thought, no answers were forthcoming. Well, I would take Alice's advice, though. I want to think it through as carefully as possible until I found my answer. I feel bad for making Arnold wait, but I want to take my time and really think about this. How do I feel about Arnold? Is this love or something altogether different? Oh, better think about it, girl. No, there you go, chapter 5. I'll try to at least finish chapter 5 before I end stream. Apparently, Arnold's job will be keeping him late today. Told me that he'd be a little later than usual to pick me up. Decided to make my way to the MANÈGE and use that extra time to work on awakening my magic. Yay, minigame! Arnold's feelings are important, of course, but my magic is as well. Want to give both of them my full attention. After all, I chose this path myself in both cases. No, we do the minigame.
始めよう。
Yippee!
いい調子だね。すごい上手だね。頑張って。すごいよ。僕ももっと頑張らなくちゃ。
Oh, that's okay. Oh. After finishing my practice, I headed to the administrative tent to say goodbye to the director for the evening. As I entered the tent, I found Sergei there with him. Surprisingly, Lucille was present as well. Ooh. Oh, well, this is a rare surprise.
目を丸くしたね。
引きこもりがいるのはレアだからな。
レアで結構です。
The three of them had paused to banter upon my appearance, but before that, it seemed they'd been clustered around some sort of blueprint that they'd been discussing.
君は何か用事だった？
No, nothing in particular. I just came to tell you that I was heading home for the day.
お疲れ様と言いたいところだけれど、それならちょっと話があるんだ。
Oh? There is?
うん。実はね、以前君にサポートしてもらってなんとか動かしたマネージュだけれど、あの後何度か修理を繰り返したんだが、どうしても大掛かりなメンテナンスが必要そうなんだ。
Major maintenance? Sergei and Lucille were listening intently to the director's explanation as well.
どうしても一日休園しなければいけない。交換するための部品自体は手に入ったからね。明日を休みにして整備しようと思うんだ。
I see. Is there any way magic could be of help?
差し当たってはどうにかなっても、延々それを続けるわけにもいかないし、致命的に壊れる前に整備した方がいいかな。君の気持ちは嬉しいよ。ありがと
う。売り上げを考えると、できれば休園は避けたかったんだが。
Sergei scowled as the director's decision sank in. It was no surprise that he'd be upset, considering how obsessed with sales he was. That the sale was ready to bluntly chide him at the moment's notice.
マネージが壊れてもいいならご自由にどうぞ。
Damn. It seems Sergei had no argument against that point. That's when the director stepped in to bring a note of cheer to the conversation.
う。仕方がないよ。その分は後で取り戻そう。アルノーの記事のおかげで前よりはずっとお客さんも増えているんだからね。
まあ、そうだな。
そういうわけで明日はお休みだよ。ゆっくり羽を伸ばして。
Understood. Thank you. As I gave the director a nod, and I couldn't help but notice how glum Lucille looked out of the corner of my eye.
僕は羽をもがれるわけですね。
大げさだな。部品交換をしてもらうだけだろ。
修理の間ずっと外にいるなんて羽をもがれるのと一緒ですよ。
Damn.
どれだけ外に出たくないんだ。
10分ごとにテントに戻りたいくらいです。
ああ。
Our discussion was more or less settled at that point, so the director lifted the tense flap to usher me outside.
また明後日よろしく頼むよ。
Just as I was about to step outside, I recalled the promise I'd made to myself just moments ago. I want to give it my all. Spending a day away from the FA, of course, would also mean spending a day away from training. Will it be alright if I came here tomorrow to practice my magic?
その気持ちはありがたいけれど、休んで体調を整えることも大事だよ。
I suppose that's true. Excuse me.
いや、君の頑張りがよく伝わってくるよ。
姿勢だけ見せても意味ありませんよ。あなたの魔法はまだまだです。
Pardon? Right. In an instant, all three of our gazes fell upon Lucille. Looked away, irritated to be at the center of attention, then added on another comment for good measure.
もっと実力をつけないと霊部から解放するのは難しいでしょう。
You can tell? You know that for sure.
ルシオールにならわかるだろうね。もっとも俺も
The director flashed me an awkward smile.
まだかかるだろうとは思っていたよ。仕方ないんだ、こればかりはね。
It's certainly true that I haven't had as much time to practice as I'd like. Thanks to everything with Arnaud, I guess I still have a long way to go. Fell silent, only for a few words of support to come from a source I'd never anticipated.
それでも前進はしているんだろう。それならそのまま努力するのみだ。
Yeah, that is surprising from Sergey. That is surprising. The director, Lucille, and I were entirely taken aback by Sergey's words. Yeah, same.
なぜ黙る。努力しろと言ってるんだが。
それは励ましているんですか？意外ですね。
Yeah, what he said.
いやー、セルジュがフォローを入れるとは思わなかったね。
Yeah, what he said.
失礼な。当然のことを言ったまでだ。
Oh, thank you, Sergey. You're absolutely right. I'll keep applying myself as best as I can.
うん。でも明日はしっかり休んで。
I will. Thank you again. Yay, day off. With that final exchange, I left the tent. Yay, day off. The knowledge that it would still be a long time before I could free everyone was disappointing. But Sergey was right. I was still making progress. I have plenty to think and worry about. When I was at the review, I had co-workers there for me. And when I was at home, I had Arnaud and Madame Alice. All of them were supporting me in their own ways as I walked the path I'd chosen. And I knew that they would give me the motivation to carry on.
お待たせ。遅くなってごめんな。
So, just as I arrived at the front gate, Arnold came dashing up to meet me. Actually, your timing's perfect. I had some business to take care of, so I just got here.
そうか。じゃあ帰ろうぜ。
Arnold casually offered me his hand. Ever since he'd started walking me to and from work, holding hands had become a part of our daily routine. That had changed since he'd revealed his feelings for me. If anything, it felt like continuing to hold hands was a declaration that nothing had changed between the two of us. I mean, that's good, right? I'm making him wait on my feelings, yet here he is acting the same as always. Thanks to that, I can stay calm and think it through properly. I really appreciate that. I felt sorry for making him wait as well, but I was relieved to know that I wouldn't have to come up with an answer on the spot. I was once again struck by just how much Arnold was going out of his way to respect my preferences in that regard.
そういえば、仕事や魔法の訓練は順調に進んでるか？いつ頃終わりそうなんだ？
What? Hey dragon, what? No, dragon. Thankfully, the guy did not come back today, so, thankfully, the guy is not back, so, you know. All good, yeah. Yeah, because he was only timed out for 24 hours. Thankfully, he's not back. I'm alone at the moment, so I don't know what to do at that point. It'll be a while longer, most likely, but everything's going smooth.
時間はかかるってどのくらい？
Well, quite a while, unfortunately.
詳しくはわからないのか？何日かかるとか、目安はこのくらいとか。
I'm not really sure myself. Some of the review knows more about the state of things, though, so I'll ask him the next time I have a chance.
そうか。わかったら俺にも教えてくれ。
Think you should be allowed to play what you enjoy, and we get to watch you enjoy it. Yeah, that's why I'm streaming. Like, I play otome games on stream because I want you guys to experience what I'm experiencing as well. Like, otome games is my niche when I'm on stream. That's it's part of my brand. That's the kind of niche game I'm into. That's why I'm playing it more. Also, I play other games because I'm a variety streamer as well. So, yeah. And it's the cheapos. I need to put like funny tags on my stream sometimes on Twitch. Kinda has this Xenos Enjoyer before. I should put a Steam Enjoyer somewhere there. Like I saw the tag exist, but I hesitated on putting it in there. In any case, as long as I keep at it every day from now on. Oh. Almost forgot that the park will be closed tomorrow, so they can repair the manège. And here I was talking about practicing every day.
そうなのか。実は俺も明日の午後は休みなんだ。取材が急にキャンセルになってさ。だから別の予定を入れようとしたんだけど、編集長に最近働きすぎだって言われて。
Show you love the man bad with Gil. Oh god. Maybe you'll just see the tag somewhere. One day, maybe you'll just see it out of nowhere. Too busy?
勤務時間を都合つけてもらった分、休みの日や持ち帰りで仕事をしてるから言うほどでもないと思うんだけど。
But you've only been shifting your hours so you can walk me home, right? Are you sure you'll be alright keeping this schedule up?
むしろはかどって助かってる。俺の記事が本社の方でも評判いいらしくてさ。今度顔出すことになってるんだ。
Main branch? You mean Paris? That's amazing.
ああ、だから助かってるんだよ。ってわけで、明日はエマにお礼をしなきゃな。
あ、
休みになったんだろ。なら俺と出かけようぜ。他に予定があるなら断っていいけど。
No, I don't. I'm free. Like I said, I was just wondering what I'd do with myself, in fact.
じゃあ決まりだな。どこへ行く？
Maybe to the park or shopping. Though since you'll be coming along.
どこでもいいよ。明日の午後までに考えておいてくれ。俺にお任せでもいいしな。
Alright, I'll give it some thought. Looked over at Arnold, who smiled back at me.
デートだな。
Yep. Ah. It hadn't occurred to me, but maybe it really was a date. We've been on outings together before. Well, I'd never read much into them before. Now that I knew Arnold had feelings for me, things were a little different. I stopped in my tracks, wondering if it would be for the best to have an answer ready for him by tomorrow. Arnold turned to look at me, his expression apologetic.
ごめん、無神経なこと言ったな。別に告白の返事をせかすつもりで言ったわけじゃないんだ。ちょっと浮かれたっていうか、ただエマと二人きりで出かけられることが嬉しくてさ。勝手に恋人気分になったりするのも良くないな。気をつける。お前も遠慮しないで文句言っていいんだからな。
Something about the way he'd said that was so funny. Couldn't stop myself from laughing. Arnold had still been holding my hand throughout the whole exchange. He lifted it upwards as he spoke on. His voice calm and gentle.
俺はお前と恋人になれてもなれなくても一緒にいられる時間が大事だし幸せだ。少しでも俺のことを意識してもらえると嬉しいけどな。
Oh, trust me. I felt the warmth of Arnold's hand on mine. Without even considering my next words, I found myself opening my mouth. I really do, very much so. I have ever since you opened up about your feelings.
そうか？今も？
Of course. I've been thinking about all sorts of things lately. Who you are, what you mean to me. I've been doing my best to come up with an answer. Will you wait just a little longer though?
ああ。好きだよ。エマ。
Where did that come from?
今言いたくなったんだ。
Okay.
そうやって真面目に考えてくれるところがすごく好きなんだよ。
Oh, I see.
ごめん。まあ今のもデートって話も明日は全部忘れて楽しもう。せっかくの休みなんだしな。
Sounds good. As we strolled happily along the road home, hand in hand, a thought struck me. Arnold always puts these things into words so clearly. I love that about him. Little by little, I was moving forward. At least it felt like I was. Anyway. Oh, okay. We're not in chapter 5 yet. We're still in chapter 4. What the fuck? At this point, I need to like. I arrived at a local cafe where Arnold and I had planned to meet up at 1 in the afternoon. I'd known the plan well in advance, yet I still somehow managed to be unprepared. The morning had flown by before I'd known it, and I'd wound up restyling my hair twice before I finally made it out of the door. In the end, all the new options I tried just made me feel antsy, so I got with my usual look instead. I hope I don't look weird. I paused by the store's window to inspect my reflection. Checked my hairstyle and inspected my clothes for wrinkles or an upturned collar. I even found myself inspecting the shape of my skirt and tips of my shoes before it struck me how strange my behavior likely came across. I restlessly glanced around to see if anyone had noticed. Yeah, calm down. Ever since Arnold said the word date, my mind had been stuck on it, no matter how hard I tried to change my perspective. He told me to forget it, but that was one thing I most certainly could not pull off. I've been out with Arnold plenty of times, but this excursion felt special to me now, and nothing I did could change that. I have to pull myself together. I may look the same as ever, but I can at least act like the perfect mademoiselle. It took a moment for the fact that I really just thought that sink in. I was even more worked up than I'd feared. I'm obsessing, aren't I? Can't help myself. I keep thinking about what sort of person Arnold is, about what he means to me, and about what sort of presence I want to be in his life. Oh, okay.
結局俺にお任せコースだったな。
Sorry, I tried to think of something for us to do, but I just can't come up with any ideas. We sat across from each other at one of the cafe's tables, chatting about our plans. I'd been thinking about where I wanted to go non-stop since I arrived home the night before. I drawn blank after blank. Eventually, it will end up leaving it all up to him. I just kept getting sidetracked thinking about how I'd respond to his feelings. First place he chosen for us to visit was a cafe that had been the talk of the town recently. I would have been happy to go anywhere with him, really. Any respond when the two of us are together. Felt somewhat elated as Arnold talked me through the menu.
ここはコーヒーはもちろん、レモネードや紅茶も美味しいんだけどさ。一番のおすすめは。
Arnold gestured at the nearby table. Seeing the customer sitting there had ordered the dish he was about to bring up.
パルフェなんだ。知ってるか？
The nearby customer, unfortunately, had already polished off most of the dish. I couldn't really tell what it had been. I don't think I've heard of them, no.
シロップとクリームを混ぜ合わせて凍らせたもので、味はって実際に食べた方が早いか。
Arnold placed our order and the waiter brought out 2 cups of coffee for us to start. He had seemed very familiar with the process, which piqued my curiosity. You come to this place often?
そういうわけじゃないけど、取材で話を聞くときにカフェやビストロに入ったりすることも多いからな。
That certainly explained it. Could easily imagine him conducting interviews in places like this. Like this one regularly.
ここの話は同僚に聞いただけ。パルフェが人気だって聞いたから、エマを連れてこようって思ってたんだ。甘いものには詳しいやつがいるからさ。いつも最新の情報を流してもらってる。美味しいクッキーの店とかも聞いたし。
Is that the same person who tells you about all the trendy new sweets you bring back home sometimes?
そうそう。いいセンスしてるだろ。
Is this person a woman? I think so if they're that interested in sweets.
気になるのか？
I wouldn't exactly say that. I'm so curious, that's all.
男だよ。甘いものと肉料理が大好きなんだ。
For some reason, I felt a surge of relief. Okay. KMC, I see you. Relief is slight, and a slight sense of happiness that had me feeling fulfilled before. I'd even tried the parfait we'd come here for. So, have you been asking him about places like this just because you know I love sweets?
せっかく新聞社で働いているんだし、生かさないとな。
Arnaud looked over at me and smiled. And here I was, thinking I already knew everything about him. Somehow, I'm still discovering more aspects of Arnaud to appreciate. Conversation quickly grew lively, and before long, the so-called parfait arrived at our table.
見た目もいい感じだろ。
Oh, we got a CG. Ooh. Yeah, that looks nice. That looks very nice. Arnold had certainly been excited to boast about this discovery, but at glance I wasn't entirely sure what to make of it. The bulk of it just looked like a white lump to me, more or less. It's not a cake, it's not quite like creme caramel either. That said, the various berries and the sauce that decorated gave a very colorful, appealing appearance overall. A dollop of pink whipped cream atop the sauce completed the picture in a rather playful manner. It was a lovely dish, all things considered. Yes, this looks wonderful. May I try it?
もちろん。
Tried my best to hide my obvious eagerness as I sliced a portion of the parfait with my knife. I scooped it up with a fork and carried it to my mouth. Quickly let out a yelp of shock, though surprisingly it was as cold as ice. Arnold had clearly seen that reaction coming because he immediately burst into laughter. Honestly, you could have warned me.
思った通りの反応だったな。ソースをつけて食べると美味しいらしいぞ。
Amidst his chuckling, I did as he said, sampling the dish with the sauce that accompanied it. He was right, it really was delicious. So much so, in fact, that I took another bite without even pausing to give him my impression. Reminds me of ice cream in a way. The fruit and whipped cream complemented perfectly as well. Ice cream was the only frozen dessert that I knew about offhand, and this was distinct from it in a wide variety of ways. I was deeply impressed with the new discovery and enthusiastically worked my way through it. Arnold meanwhile fell silent. Eventually, he reached a hand out toward me. Oh. Yo. Huh?
クリームついてる。
Oh.
はしゃいでて気づかないとか、まったく子供だな。
No kids. Too early. So too early. The place where Arnold had touched in particular felt so hot. I could barely stand it. It's not like I'm always like that. The parfait was just so tasty, and I couldn't help myself. For me too early, bro is already going full speed. I babbled away in this desperate attempt to defend myself, and Arnold cracked up all over again.
怒るなって。俺はそういうところが好きなんだからさ。
How do you keep saying those things so casually?
本当に思ってることだから。自然と出るんだよな。
He teased me and called me a kid just moments before, but now his words were filled with kindness. He looked so perfectly happy that I couldn't help but ask him something. Keep complimenting me, saying how much you love each and every little thing I do. But is there anything about me you don't like?
嫌いなところか。
Arnold paused to mull the question over, then replied with as broad of a smile as ever.
昔はここをこうしてくれたらなとか、こうしてほしいなとか思うこともあったけど。
I used to? You mean when we were back in Paris?
まあそうだな。あの頃は俺もガキだったし。
Really? From what I recall, you were always as kind as could be after I lost my memories. Even though I'd kind of forgotten all about meeting you. Oh, is this what you meant? Was I a real handful before I lost my memories? I wouldn't know. I'd meant that last quip as a joke, more or less, but Arnold seemed to take it uncomfortably seriously.
いや、そんなことはないけどさ。俺は子供だったから。考えたんだよ。でももう過去のことだ。今はお前の嫌いなところなんて思いつかないよ。それにお前が苦手なこととかうまくできないこととかそういうのは全部俺が得意になってフォローしてやれればいいかなって思ってるから。
Arnold paused for a moment and looked me in the eye.
好きだよ全部。
He spoke with a smile and his words shook me to the core. I was thrown for such a loop, I couldn't even notice Parfait's flavor anymore. Oh well, later that night, after a date that wasn't a date, had come to an end. I sat in my room and thought for what felt like hours on end. Arnold had opened up on himself for me. Ever since then, he stayed open about it, telling me his feelings with complete honesty. It was like he was making up for the lost time, saying it as loudly and clearly as he could to compensate for how long he kept his feelings hidden away. Well, most likely. Arnold understands me better than anyone, cares more for my well-being more than anyone. Can always breathe easily when he's by my side. When we're together, we can share all the life's little joys with each other. And if he weren't around, Whoa, Yeah, you probably would be living an entirely different life. I think that would be the answer. I'm sure I'd be living an entirely different life. Just imagine not having someone to scold me when I come home late or tease me when I act childishly. Not having a shoulder to lean on or someone to sleep beside me. Well, we have an ad break though. We have an ad break. So gotta take that time to actually rest my throat real quick. Sekil Kai. Imagine getting ads. Well, you're on the YouTube chat. Twitch gets ad breaks at some time. And I have to run them because, if I don't, they're gonna be more often. And it gives me a 3-minute, break from reading. Watch Birds. Hi. Welcome to the stream. Yep, okay, ad break is done. Yep. Not having someone always there to talk and laugh with or to keep me up to date on the newest trendy desserts. I'm sure it would have been a terribly lonely life. Yep. Laced my fingers together and looked up at the lights that flickered overhead. They illuminated the memento that my father had left for me. Music box Manage. Arnaud and the rest of the Vincents have supported me ever since I lost my parents. I've always thought of them as something like family to me, but today I realized something. I don't consider Arnold just a child friend. Consider him as a man as well. I'm sorry finding myself hoping that I look like a proper enough woman to be seen by his side. It's embarrassing when he touches me, and I don't know how to react, but I don't dislike it either. This must be what Arnold meant when he talked about loving me as a woman. At least I think it is. I'd be happy if he sees me as the most important person in his life. And I'd like to see him as the most important person in mine as well. Still don't know for sure if this is love or not, but it would be nice if it is. The next day, Arnold and I walked home together just like always. Before dinner, however, I had to do something that was very much not routine. Steel my resolve and step up to Arnold's room. Okay. My heart had never pounded this wildly over speaking with him before. And I'd already decided what I was going to tell him, but imagining how he would react was an altogether different matter. I could tell my cheeks were flushed. I'm sure he'll be happy, right? Took a deep breath and knocked on his door. Arnold, there's something I'd like to speak with you about. Waited for a moment, but he didn't reply. I knocked again. Is he not there? Couldn't hear anything at all from inside his room. That struck me as strange enough to make me grasp the doorknob. I was so certain he'd gone back to his room earlier. Maybe he went out again? Arnold, are you in there? Cracked the door open and peeked inside. Sure enough, the room was empty. Arnold was nowhere to be seen. Huh. I decided to speak with him after dinner instead. Just as I was about to leave, however, I noticed a piece of paper that had fallen onto the floor. Might have gotten caught in the breeze when I opened the door. Oh, whoops, I'll just get that for him. Oh. What's the paper? Picked up the sheet of paper without making much of it, figuring I'd return it to his desk. Arnold's desk is buried under papers now that I look at it. From sheets of loose leaves to books, practically every inch of it was covered in documents. I wasn't sure where to set the one I picked up. Come to think of it, hasn't he mentioned that he never throws out the article drafts that he has to rewrite? I snickered to myself as I looked over the small fountain of papers. What is your favorite schnitzel? I don't know what the schnitzel is, so I don't know. He always told me that he never improved as a journalist if he couldn't compare his rejected drafts to the ones that were eventually approved. I can't say I understand it on a technical level, but I can certainly tell he's working hard. Felt a newfound respect for Arnold's work ethic as I looked for a place to set the straight sheet. Nowhere seemed quite right, so for a lack of a better location, I decided to set it down on an envelope and a half-finished layer laying in front of me. Before I could, though, I noticed something that made me pause. Huh. I had intended to read it, but the almost wild hand in which it had been scrawled with caught my attention before I could stop myself. See me written a line, then cross it out again immediately. In spite of myself, I found myself picking out a word here and there. Judging by how he'd written them, I could imagine that the letter wasn't about anything pleasant. I had to assume he was working on rewriting it from scratch. The envelope was still nearby, and the address already written upon it. Okay. I was more curious about the letter's rough, crude writing than ever now. Arnaud is a journalist. You'd think penmanship should be his strong suit. Uh-oh. I lost the will to resist. I had to read it.
エマの魔法については経過の観察を続ける。
He is,
体調や精神状態に問題はない。刺激しないよう今後も安定させる。彼女は俺に絶大な信頼を寄せているので、試験が必要な場合は俺を通して調整を。何かあればまた知らせる。
I've always felt sus about Arnaud, so he is currently reporting this to his dad. Nothing about the letter's contents struck me as something Arnaud would write to his father. Its tone was harsh and dry, and the content was exclusively about me. It was almost as if he's been reporting to his father about me. Oh no, he's home though. The instant I heard Arnaud's voice, I frantically returned the piece of paper to his desk and left the room.
平気よ。荷台からは下ろせたんだから。
そうだけどさ。力仕事なら俺がやるっていつも言ってるのに。
Arnold stepped inside carrying a large package. It seemed something had been delivered to the house. Headed for the kitchen, given my flustered state, I tried my best to compose myself before I spoke with him. Did something get delivered just now?
そうなの。頼んでいた食材なんだけれど、思ったよりも量が多くて。
Yeah, and since we went through Hugo's route, we did get to see what happened 7 years ago. The guy who shot MC's father had red hair and was in the military. And who else do we know who has red hair in this game?
こんなにたくさん使い切れないだろう。
As a dad in the military?
大量に。
お菓子を作るのにぴったりの新商品なのよ。絶対に美味しいから。
自分で作っても失敗するのに。なあ、エマ。
Yeah, I've been sus of Arnold since that route. So I'm like, how much do you know about man?
Eh? だから母さんが、まあいいか。腐るものでもないし。
でしょ
All I was doing was listening to them, yet my heart was pounding several times faster than I had been right before I'd gone into Arnaud's room. Just what was that letter? What does this mean? Barely heard a word they said, really. I more or less nodded my way through in dinner time. After I finished eating, I headed straight for my room. My body felt like it was made of lead. I sluggishly plopped down on my bed and tried to make sense of my thoughts. That letter was addressed to Monsieur Daniel. Arnold writes to him every month, though I only just found that out recently. There's something strange about that, and yet it was about magic. Was Arnold consoling his father about my magic for some reason? Why would he do that, though? I thought that me using my magic at the RPA was supposed to be a secret from everyone, even his parents. Maybe he decided that he decided he had to tell them after all. But that's kind of weird, though. It's not like I would mind that, of course. They're my family too. But the way he wrote those was kind of weird, though. But still, so many things about the situation were eating away at me. It seemed like that whole letter was about me. I think he'd also read about Madame Alice or about himself, his work maybe, or their health. It's weird that it was only about me. Should I have simply overlooked those portions of the letter? I only read a few lines from its middle. For all I knew, I'd just picked out the one section that was about me. MC, come on. Well, the MC does not remember her past, so she does not remember what happened 7 years ago, so yeah, she's kind of think about she had to think about it really hard, I guess. But what was that about examinations? How was it that Arnold described letters before?
Emmaには言ってなかったけど、父さんには毎月手紙を
But the way it was worded was really a major red flag. Yeah, the letter was a really major red flag at the
本当に簡
moment.
単な内容でさ、みんなは元気か、最近変わったことはないかとか、一言書いて送っているだけなんだけどさ。
I guess MC's got a MC, Letting him know everyone's doing fine. Telling him about anything that's changed lately. How was that just simple stuff? Not to mention the other day.
そういえば、仕事や魔法の訓練は順調に進んでるか？いつ頃終わりそうなんだ？
It'll be a while longer, most likely. He was asking about the progress as well, so that is
時間は
weird.
かかるって、どのくらい？
And how long it will take.
詳しくはわからないのか？
He's
何
asking for
日かかるとか
specifics.
目安
Like that, yeah, that is weird.
そうか。わかったら俺にも教えてくれ。
I thought it was strange how he was so interested in the little details. I won't have any good reason to use my magic after I've freed everyone from their prey, so I assumed he was just hoping I would finish soon. If that were true though, then why wouldn't he just tell me? For a moment I considered just asking him, but even entertaining the idea had me feel the same strange, ghastly chill that come over me when I first read the letter. Not to mention, I don't think I'd ever seen Arnold write in such a cold tone before. I'd read plenty of Arnold's articles, up to up to and including the one he'd created about the RPA. His writing had a distinctive voice and a flow to it. It was like he was standing right in front of you, delivering an explanation that left you intrigued and excited. He didn't always use that tone, of course, but still, I simply couldn't imagine that being the voice he would choose for a letter to his own family. It's true that Monsieur Daniel has never had much patience for small talk, but in that case, why would he demand monthly letters to begin with? I'd had my doubts back when I'd first heard about the letters. It had been surprising. It never struck me as the sort of person who'd be interested in casual correspondence. But if they were reports rather than letters, it would all make sense. I was drawing closer and closer to a terrible conclusion. I didn't like what that said about me one bit. Why would I even consider this? Wasn't I supposed to be telling Arnaud how I feel about him today? But there's just too much to question here. I can see that letter as something I can just forget about. After all, he's the one who's been telling me not to let anyone know about our magic this whole time. Yeah. You guys did promise, right? One casual glance into his room was all it had taken to shatter my image of Arnold. I thought I'd known what sort of person he was, but now I wasn't so sure. What if the Arnold that I know is just one small part of him? What if there's far more to him deep down that I've never noticed? What if all of this, him saying he loves me, him staying by my side, him always being interested in every little deal about my life, is driven by some ulterior motive? Yeah. What if, just maybe, he only wanted to know all of that so that he could report to Monsieur Daniel about it? Maybe I was right. Maybe I was completely off base. One way or another, I spent the night in a state of bewilderment. At the same time, I lost the courage to give Arnold the answer that I thought I'd settle upon for certain. Well, next morning, Arnold, Madame Alice, and I had breakfast together, just like always.
朝からこんなにたっぷりバゲットにチーズを乗せていただくなんて贅沢ね。
このチーズうまいな。にしても母さんのそれは乗せすぎじゃないのか？
あら、このくらいの方が美味しいわよ。エマももうちょっとどう？
エマ？
Huh? Before I knew it, Madame Alice and Arnold had both turned their attention to me. What were you talking about?
大した話じゃないからいいの。
She probably thought I was preoccupied by matters of the heart again. She's not entirely wrong, but it's so much more than that, too.
そういえばアルノーが書いたレーブ移動遊園地の記事ずいぶん評判ね。
ああ、新聞の売れ行きもいいみたいだ。そのおかげでたくさん仕事も任されたし、来週は帰るのが遅くなりそうなんだ。
そうなの。大変ね。でもそのおかげで遊園地のお客さんはだいぶ増えたんじゃない？
What little focus I could spare had been dedicated to eating my soup. I didn't even register that she'd asked me a question.
エマ、体調でも悪いのか？
If Arnold hadn't said anything, I probably never would have realized I'd missed something. Oh, sorry, customers? Yes, we're getting way more of them now. Everyone at the RVA is beside themselves.
それはよかったわ。アルノーも遊園地にたくさん通って取材した甲斐があったわね。
そうだな。
Conversation ground to a halt there, but I felt just as anxious throughout the rest of the meal nonetheless. As we cleared our dishes from the table, Arnold spoke to me.
今日の帰りに例の店に寄ってこようと思うんだけどさ。
That one store? I had no idea that what he was talking about. I furrowed my brow, wondering if I let another piece of important context slip past me. Arnold, however, somewhat practically explained himself.
いや、この間言ってたうまいクッキーの店だよ。わかりづらい言い方だったな。今日お土産に買ってくるからさ。
Oh, great. I can't wait to try them. Without a sigh of relief, I hadn't missed anything after all. That, however, must have seemed strange in Arnold's eyes. Paused for a moment to closely inspect my face. I knew I couldn't keep playing this off much longer. I took a deep breath and prepared to ask the question that was eating at me. If I was going to do this, I'd have to make it seem as casual as possible. By the way, Arnold, did you already write that letter to Monsieur Daniel that you mentioned? What did you write about? If you did, I was just...
ああ、書いたよ。もう出した後だけど。
You already mailed it? But it was on his desk last night, wasn't it? No real reason. Monsieur Daniel just never struck me as the sort of man who'd write many letters, so I was curious about what sort of things the two of you spoke about.
大したことは書いてないって。さらっと一言近況を知らせてるだけだから。
I smiled and nodded. Yeah, smile and wave. Even as internally, I was shaken to my core. How could anyone call that just a quick update? I'd been hoping to ask Reed that before he sent the letter out. That was out the window if he'd already sent it though, and more importantly, did he just lie to me? Oh boy. Small update, huh? Small update, he said. Like, unless what we saw on that table was something he deliberately not sent with the letter that he actually sent. And we're just misinterpreting it as, no, a draft. Arnold hadn't left the house after dinner the night before, and even if he had, it would have been far too late to send a letter. He just doesn't want to show it to me. He said he'd already sent it as an excuse. It's the only explanation. My hands were starting to tremble. I'd also fallen into a dazed silence mid-conversation, which seemed to make Arnold more worried than ever.
本当に大丈夫か？熱でもあるんじゃないか？
Oh, Arnold pressed his hand to my forehead, and in that instant my body moved faster than my mind could keep up with. I swallowed his hand away. He'd only been concerned about my health, and I knew it. But I did it anyway. My hand had moved on of its own volition. I have to get ready for work. I made that apology, my last word on the matter, and returned to my room. My eyes glued to the floor all the way. Wasn't brave enough to look and see what sort of face Arnold was making. Needless to say, walking to the RV with Arnold after all that was painfully uncomfortable. We barely said a word to each other between home and the front gate.
じゃあ、また夕方に迎えに来るから。
Alright. Arnold turned around but stopped in his tracks after just a few steps.
エマ。
Yes?
俺、何かしたか？気になってることがあるなら言ってくれ。
No. Arnold looked, how do you even pronounce that? But seemed he was preparing himself for my reply, whatever it might be. I, however, couldn't decide what to say for a moment. Okay, let's say. Let's just say that we feel under the weather. It's not like that. I just feel a little under the weather, that's all.
体調？それなら仕事。
Just a little, really. I'll be fine at work. Don't worry, I'm sure. I'll feel better before I know it.
そうか?
Yeah, I'm sorry for making you worry. Felt so awkward, I ended up glancing around restlessly. Ah, Clara. I noticed Clara by the ticket booth. She was just the excuse I needed. Sorry, I have something to talk with Clara about. For the time being, I just wanted to put some distance between myself and Arnaud.
ああ。じゃあまた帰りに。
That wasn't very subtle of me, but I just couldn't take it. I pursed my lips as I quickly made my way over to Clara. Went and lied to Arnold, but then again, he's been lying to me too. I felt tightness in my chest. He'd always been by my side. He'd never held anything back from me. He was my oldest and most important friend. Everything I was feeling, it seemed, was showing through my expression. Clara looked mystified as I approached her.
おはよう。いいの？
The Hornet, hi. She glanced over my shoulder toward the path back to town. Followed her gaze, looking behind me as well, and found that Arnold was still standing there watching me. When he noticed my gaze, he tipped his hat to us and went along on his way. It was clear, though, that our exchange was still bothering him.
何かあったの？
Sort of, yes. I was acting evasive, and as a result, Clara didn't press for details. I don't know how to read what you're talking about, the Hornet. I can only read and talk in English and my native language, which is Filipino, but yeah.
So, 頑張ってね。
Headed into the park, grateful for how understanding of a person Clara was. Oh, okay. Minigame time. Maybe I should have told him the truth. Maybe. My doubts had yet to clear up by the time I arrived at the MANÈGE. could have said that I accidentally glanced at his letter and asked him what was going on. Maybe then this would all already be over. But I just never imagined that Arnold would lie to me like that. And what if he really does have an ulterior motive for staying by my side and saying that he loves me? I knew I wouldn't be able to bear that. It was made all the worse now that I finally realized how I felt about him. Finally decided I was... Yep, she was gonna confess, but... I shook my head and faced the menage once more. I have to stop thinking about this. I should be awakening with magic right now. Up, minigame.
僕の方が緊張してきちゃった。よそ見したら危ないよ。頑張って。うん、いい調子だね。すごいよ。僕ももっと頑張らなくちゃ。
Oh, okay. That's a full bar already. Okay. I just couldn't concentrate. I tried over and over to clear my mind and change gears, but in the end I wasted my whole practice period without ever managing to focus properly. At this rate I won't be able to do my job either. I need to calm down and forget about it for now. But how long is for now? When will I finally think this through? Found an answer to my own question just moments later. This means he's sure to get a reply, doesn't it? Just ask him again when Monsieur Daniel's letter arrives. I'm sure that reading it will finally dispel all these doubts I'm having. But what if he doesn't reply, or what if Arnold doesn't let me read it? I desperately wanted all of this to be nothing more than a silly misunderstanding. Until that was made clear though, I would do my absolute best to act as if nothing was wrong and delay my response to Arnold's feelings. Or I tried to anyway. But as it turned out, I wouldn't have to keep up the act for long. Oh, what'd that mean? I returned home from work and was preparing dinner just like always. That's when the booming knock resounded from the door.
お客さんかしら。
Arnold had told us that he'd been working late again, so he won't be back for dinner. It would just be me and Madame Alice that night. Am I scared? I'm worried. I moved the Monet I was making off the heat. Just as I was about to step over to the front door, though, Madame Alice beat me to it.
私が出るわ。お料理の方お願いね。
Okay. That struck me as fair enough. As I returned to my work, I heard her open the door and address our visitor.
あら、ブランブールへいらっしゃるなんて、どうされたんですか？
Madame Alice sounded delighted. Whoever had come to visit was apparently close to her, and I stepped away from the kitchen to take a look out of curiosity. The moment I saw our visitor's face, however, I gasped.
あるのは
I thought so. Oh, there's Dad. I'm pretty sure that's the same guy we saw on Hugo's route. Monsieur Daniel, who Could have sworn... I could have sworn was in Paris and arrived at our doorstep.
最近仕事が忙しいらしくて、今日はまだ帰っていないんです。あなたがいらっしゃると分かっていれば、早く帰らせましたのに。
Monsieur Daniel didn't bother to reply. Instead, he turned his piercing gaze in my direction.
内密の話がある。少しエマを借りていく。
The coldness of his gaze instantly told me that whatever he wanted to discuss, it was no laughing matter. Whether or not Madame Alice picked up on that, I wasn't so sure. She chuckled as she urged him into the house.
内密って何かしら。でももう時間も遅いですし、中に入ってお話しされてはいかが？今ちょうどエマにムニエルを作ってもらっていた。
内密の話だと言っただろう。さあ、外へ。
Monsieur Daniel brusquely cut Madame Alice off and gestured for me to follow him outside. Haha. Hey, Morningstar. Hey. Welcome to the stream. Hi there. So he didn't send a reply after all. Monsieur Daniel decided to come here in person. That settles it. It really wasn't just an ordinary letter. I felt a complicated mixture of disappointment and shame that for a moment I drained the will to so much as move. Monsieur Daniel, meanwhile, was running out of patience.
Ayaku.
Okay. Okay then. I had a terrible feeling about where this was going, but this was Monsieur Daniel's house, and I was his guest. I had no choice but to obey. It was past 7 in the evening, and most of Blackwork's residents had already returned to their homes. However, the moment I stepped outside, I noticed someone lurking in the shadows nearby, a soldier. I knew in an instant he was one of Monsieur Daniel's subordinates. The situation was starting to scare me. Nevertheless, I stepped out into the street. Behind me, Daniel closed the door.
さて、本題だ。
Shrank away as Monsieur Daniel cut to the chase, making no effort to mince words.
魔法が使えるようになったらしいな。
I expected this to an extent, but I was still so shocked I couldn't conceal it. In other words, not only did he know that I could use my magic now, he'd also known that I'd been incapable of using it before.
嘘をついても無駄だ。アルノーから話は聞いている。
And that confirms that he has been sending him letters about her, yeah. I'd hoped I could play dumb, but all that earned me was a dose of cold hard reality. Arnaud told you?
他に誰がいる？他に君の魔法について知っている人間がいるのか？
No, nobody else knows. Nobody else save the others at the review, of course. Given the harsh tone of the exchange up until now, however, I decided it would be better to keep that to myself. Yep, do not tell him.
それならいい。アルノーの言いつけを守ったようだな。
His orders?
お前が魔女だということを他の人間には知られるなとアルノーは常々言う。
I was at a loss for words. Why would he know that? It was a warning that Arnaud had repeated to me time and time again. Don't let anyone find out that I'm a witch. Never use magic where someone might see me. Before it got out, there was no telling what they might do to me. He never let me forget.
では行こう。魔法の力が覚醒した以上、ここにとどまるわけにはいかないからな。
Huh? What do you mean by that?
軍の施設に同行してもらう。魔法を使える人間は危険だからな。同時に君の身柄を守るためにもだ。
A military facility. I turned those words over in my mind. Sir Daniel seemed to realize how bewildered I was. Okay. Oh, my lair! He raised a hand in the air. Uh-oh. That must have been a signal. A troop of soldiers stepped forward and one of them advanced upon me.
素直に従うのであれば手荒な真似はしない。
Oh. Soldier reached out for me, but before I knew what I was doing, I was sprinting away as fast as my legs could carry me. Not really the kind of father-in-law you'd like to get. Yep. I mean, since the Hugo route, I did know that family was kind of sus, except for the mom. They were hiding stuff. And the dad was the reason why Emma's dad died. So I'm not about to let that happen. Didn't know whether or not I was being pursued. I didn't stop to check. I ran single-mindedly, making for the edge of town. Okay.
追わなくてよろしいのですか？
こんな街中で追いかけ回しては目立つ。どうせ行き先は分かっている。
Did Arnaud also say something about the revier?
2頭の獲物は一度に捕まえた方が効率がいいだろう。
As much as I know, the mom doesn't know anything because if she knew, the dad won't be telling the mom to just stay at home inside. So the mom is gone. Also, is she heading to her bay actually? Because that's gonna be dangerous. Oh yeah, she is. Shit. Wasn't misunderstanding anything at all. Arnold was sending reports to Monsieur Daniel, who'd come to drag me away. Arnold's been spying on me this whole time. And that means when he said he loved me, it may have been a lie. Yeah. How my legs naturally carrying me to the revier. Oh god, this is a bad idea to go there though. Gasped for breath as I pounded on the skate. It had been quite some time since the park had closed for the night. Nobody was there to hear me, and I glanced around in a panic. What should I do? There must be some way for me to get inside. Dashed over to the employee entrance by the ticket booth. If memory serves, just as I recall, there was a slight gap in the wall there. It was a tight fit, and it took some effort, but I just barely managed to squeeze through and make my way inside. Then I headed straight for the Mr. Tent. Okay. Burst into the tent to find the director and Sergei inside. Both of them look up at me.
どうしたんだい、エマ。もう。
I did my best to catch my breath as I explained what happened.
軍
The look on the director and Sergei's faces turned grim in an instant. Hugo should be able to pick up on what's happening because Hugo was someone that Emma knew 7 years ago, so they know that I can use magic now and they want to take me away to some sort of facility.
なるほど。
It only explained the situation in broad strokes, but that seemed to be enough to bring the two of them up to speed.
セルジュ、今すぐクリエをレイブの外へ。
クリエを？どういうことだ？
軍の連中はレイブの場所も把握しているはずだ。魔法に関わった人間は全員連行されるだろう。でもクリエなら外に逃げられる。
わかった。
Sergei could then set off at once. I, meanwhile, probably looked even more horrified than the two of them did. Thanks to what the director just had said. Tell them you weren't involved. I'll say that I just work here and that you have nothing to do with my magic. More importantly, if they arrest me, then I'll never be able to set all of you free. I should do it now before it's too...
落ち着いて。まだ
Yes,
魔
an
法の
idea.
覚醒が十分じゃないし、今の状態では無理だろう。無茶なことをして君に影響が出たらまずい。それに、軍が君に目をつけた時点で、ここも同じ運命をたどるのは分かっていたんだ。君を捕らえに来た軍人の名前は分かるか？
I had no idea why he would ask me that, but I answered honestly. Yeah, he knew.
やっぱりか。
He knew. Hugo grimaced. He didn't seem surprised at the least to hear Monsieur Daniel's name. Is it time for you to tell her, Hugo?
俺はね。
Director lead me out to the tent, from the tent. He did not, however, try to escape like I'd expected him to. Instead, he came to a stop at the center of the park. He gazed at the manège and an oddly wistful look in his eyes.
君がレイブからの解放に協力すると言ってくれて、君がそう言ってくれただけで、俺の7年が救われた気がした。これから先、何があっても、俺は君と出会い、レイブで過ごした毎日のことを後悔なんてしないから、覚えておいて。いいね。
The director turned his back to the manège and faced the refused front gate. It was almost as if he knew exactly when the army would arrive. So he's not gonna explain what happened 7 years ago? Okay. In random time, Monsieur Daniel and his men stepped into view. He and the director both seemed calm as could be. I was the only one who didn't understand what was happening and had fallen into a panic. For a moment, they simply faced each other down. The director eventually made the first move. It broke his silence.
お待ちしていました。ようこそ、レイブ移動遊園地へ。
Hugo flashed the soldiers a smile and bowed deeply. By the time he raised his head once more, however, his expression had shifted entirely. The smile was gone, and there wasn't so much as a hint or warmth. The look he gave Monsieur Daniel.
ダニエルさん、あなたをここへ迎え入れる気はなかった。
A moment later, I was caught off guard. Once more, as Daniel let out a very rare, mirthless laugh.
私も会う気はなかった。幽霊なんて君が悪いだけだからな。
Well, wasn't keeping up with their conversation at all. The director and Monsieur Daniel knew each other, clearly. But they had thoroughly lost me when ghosts had come into the picture. As I looked from one to the other in bafflement, Monsieur Daniel continued.
やはり彼女には話していなかったのか。その方が懐柔できると？
そんなつもりじゃない。俺はあんたとは違う。
I hate the smirk Daniel has. I know. I hate it too. I would punch him right now. That wasn't my intention. No. Okay.
どうかな？エマ、君はアルノーやこの遊園地を心の拠り所としていたようだが、残念ながらそれは幻想だということを知っておいた方が。
やめろ、そんな言い方をするな。幻想なんかじゃない。彼女にはいつだって感謝していたし、俺は。
And that raised eyebrow. Yeah.
でも事実を伏せていた。君たちは皆嘘をつき彼女を騙していたわけだ。
Felt a chill run down my spine. Something was happening here. I could tell that much, but I couldn't understand what it was. I just couldn't grasp what they were talking about. What does that mean?
7年前の話をしよう。君が失ってしまった過去の記憶が一体どういうものなのか。
Yeah, the ship and topic had come out of nowhere. Does he know something about the accident? If he does, then why did he never...
こ 困惑しているようだな。無理もない。まあこれを聞けばきっと君も私におとなしく従う気持ちになるだろう。
Director's soldiers slumped, but he made no effort to prevent Monsieur Daniel from continuing to explain.
始まりは8年前だ。君の父フロランはとある遊園地の所有権を譲り受け、そこで君は園で働く遊具技師のヒューゴと出会ったはずだ。覚えているか？
Oh? No, I thought he met for the first time when Monsieur Hugh came to Blankborg. Glanced over at the director, who met my gaze and flashed me a rather uncomfortable smile.
なるほど。それも記憶にないようだ。命を懸けて助けた相手も忘れてしまうとはな。
それは
違うとは言い切れまい。一歩間違えれば死んでしまうところだったわけだからな。まあその話はともかく、当時軍では国内情勢の悪化により娯楽施設の取り締まりを進めていた。君たちが大切にしていた縁ももちろんその対象だった。だから軍はオーナーのフロランに他にも事情はあったのだが、ともあれ縁は解体されることになった。
He just left the detail of you gunning
し
him
か
down.
しその交渉が不十分だったのか、オーナーのフロランとスタッフたちは縁の取り壊しに反対した。
Yeah, you chose to shoot him.
施設の解体が始まっても強固に。軍と彼らの揉み合いは続き、そしてあの事件が起きてしまった。
よくもそんな風に言えたものだな。こいつらはいつもそうなんだ。自分の都合のいいように言い換えて。
Finally, the director cut into the conversation. Could tell that he was trying very hard to hold intense emotion at bay.
事件については俺が話す。あんたらにねじ曲げられるのは
好きにするといい。
I could still do nothing more than quietly listen as the director took over the explanation.
遊園地は俺たちの大事な居場所だった。俺もフロランさんも。それなのに軍は突然やってきて園の解体を強行したんだ。
Yep. Soldiers faced their way into the park and set about tearing attractions to pieces. Florent and I stepped up to bar their path, objecting to the outrage with everything we had. But they ignored us and simply continued their terrible work. Couldn't stand it, they refused to back down, hounding their leader Daniel to the bitter end.
お願いだ。マネージュだけは残してほしい。
くどい。そこをどけ。
どけない。どうしても。
歯向かう相手を間違えたな。
Daniel pulled a gun. Yep. I didn't think he'd dare to follow through. In retrospect, that was foolish of me.
貴様はこれで終わりだ。
That muzzle could use some work. And the next thing I knew, I'd fallen to the ground. Yep.
こんなことで、こんなところで、俺の夢は。
That single moment felt like it lasted for an eternity. Heard Daniel step up beside me. He raised his gun once more. Seeing me planned on finishing the job. Would he aim for my head, or perhaps it would be my heart? Nope, he aimed for your neck.
これで終わりか。でもそれならせめてこのマネージュを守って。
Clenched my eyes shut and made my peace, and then high-pitched shriek of metallic impact rang out across the plaza. Mash raised my head, searching for the source of the noise. Then the world was enveloped in a brilliant light of purest white. Second shot had met its mark. You, Emma, who Florent had told to run away and hide. You had died between me and the gun's barrel. You took the bullet in my stead. Thankfully, it struck your necklace rather than you, so it was deflected. And at the same moment, there was a dazzling burst of magical light.
それからどうなったのかは俺にはわからない。気がつくと広場に立っていたんだ。辺りに軍人の姿はなく、マネージュとなぜか解体されたはずの遊具がよみがえ、俺が首に負ったはずの怪我は跡形もなく、代わりに首には星のあざができて、魔法だとすぐに分かった。それもこれはきっとエマの魔法で、銃弾を受けて死にかけた俺を助けてくれたのだと思った。ただ何をどう試しても一定以上マネージュから離れることはできなかったけどね。
なるほど、そういう状態だったのか。
Master Dalo muttered to himself. He seemed to have reached some sort of understanding, but I was still dazed and astonished. So the military tried to tear down the park and fight broke out? Sir Hugo was shot, and the one who shot him was...
そうだ。この人が撃ったせいで、俺はレイブに囚われることになったんだ。
But that last part wasn't really him, was it? That was my magic doing... Magic's doing, right?
さっきも言ったけれど、俺は君に救ってもらったと思っているよ。すべての原因はこの人と軍だ。
Yep. Master Dalo let out a scornful sigh.
たとえそうだったとしても、我々は十分に償いをしていると思うがな。ヒューゴ、君が亡霊となってさまよっている間、軍の病院で身柄を預かっているよ。手厚い看護のもとでね。そして家族も記憶も失ってしまった彼女は我が家で引き取った。魔女なんてどこの家でも気味悪がり、引き取り手はいないだろう。だから私が引き取ることにしたんだ。
それも都合のいい言い方だな。今こうやって彼女を追ってきたんだ。利用しようとしてたんじゃないのか。彼女の魔法の力を知っていたから。
それはもちろんそうだ。しかし彼女は魔法の力を失っていたようだからな。役に立つかどうかもわからないのに、こうして立派に育ててやったのだ。十分だと思わないか。
Bro. It felt like I'd been struck. Pain shot through my head. My heart was pounding and my fingertips felt strangely cold. Me and they used me for my magic. My head was throbbing. Felt like something was there, stuck in a corner of my mind. Something I wanted to forget, but something that I could never be truly forgotten. Memories began to click into place.
僕の声が聞こえるか？返事をしてくれ！お願いだ。なんとか言ってくれ。どうか目を覚まして。エマ！
That voice, so faint and indistinct. I thought it may have been a dream. The signing of the sword was a real memory. It was my father's voice. He shouted my name after I'd been shot and my magic ran rampant. I hadn't drowned in an accident in this... that river, yeah. This whole time, ever since he'd taken me into his household, I thought of him as my savior. Yet this whole time he'd been keeping a terrible truth from me. The fact that he himself killed my father. Yep.
彼は娘とスタッフが撃たれてかなり錯乱していたようだったからな。
Bruh. Once your dad didn't bother to deny it. Is this not a bad fun stream? No, it is not. Yeah, but I was right, he was a mess. Yeah, he was. Yeah. My shoulders snap as the truth set in. A lack of a denial was, for all intents and purposes, a confession. Monsieur Hugo took a step toward me. Oh, we have a ad break. Damn it. Okay. Oh, we have an ad break, so I'm gonna have that run so that doesn't run during the thing later. But yeah. Perfect time to Twitch. Damn. We're almost done with chapter 5 as well, so yeah. Horrible person, yeah. Okay. Ad break is done. There you go.
どこまで卑怯なんだ。フロランさんを手にかけ、それを伏せたまま彼女を利用しようと企んでいたなんて。
言っただろう。起こってしまった事件の償いの意味もあったのだと。それに最終的に残念な結果にはなったが、我々も本意ではなかったし、そもそも事件の発端は別の人間にある。
Trying to justify whatever his actions were. Then who? I was too shaken by Monsieur Daniel's words to protest them, but the director stepped in to do so in my stead.
そんなごまかしで許されるとでも？どんな理由があってもフロランさんが殺される理由にはならない。
私がいつ許しを請うたんだ？ 過ぎたことに頭を下げても仕方あるまい。それより真実を話す。
過ぎたことだと何を。
Mr. Dana had no heed to the director's rage. Instead, he turned to look behind him. There he was, standing stock still just past the row of soldiers. He had no idea when he'd arrived. It was Arnold.
ようやく役者が揃ったな、アルノ。そろそろ彼女に真実を話したらどうだ。
それは。
Arnold muttered indistinctly. Monsieur Daniel barely spared him a glance before launching into an explanation in his head.
すべての始まりはお前の情報からだったな、アルノ。あれは事故の3ヶ月ほど前だったか。
3 months before the incident.
その日アルノはパリで話題になっている遊園地へ行ってきたと私に報告をした。そしてその遊園地のオーナーの娘に会ったと。君のことだ、エマ。アルノは初めて会った時から君を。
It was among the many moments that I lost.
それから何度も遊園地に通い、息子は君といい仲になろうとしていたようだった。しかしそれはうまくはいかなかった。なぜだかわかるか？ヒューゴ。当時彼女は縁の遊具技師である君と常に一緒にいた。共通の話題もないアルノーでは話に割り込むこともできなかっただろうな。つまりは息子の横恋慕だったというわけだ。残念ながらその恋は成就しそうになかった。
Well, you did all of that because of this? What the fuck?
確かに
Stop.
仲が良かったのは事実だが、
アルノーの存在さえも知らなかっただろう。仕方のないことだ。息子のささやかな片思いだったわけだからな。
Spent my time with Monsieur Hugo, but wait, please. I thought I was friends with Arnold back then. We were the best friends even. I was told that was the biggest reason why you took me into your household, wasn't it, Arnold? Arnold wouldn't look me in the eye. Once again, Monsieur Daniel stepped in to fill in the blanks.
そう言っておいた方が都合が良かったんだろう。アルノーはずっと恋敵であるヒューゴはあの事故で死んだと思っていたわけだしな。彼になり変わりたかったのだ。そうだろ？
Okay, the manipulation here. Arnold gritted his teeth, clenched his fist, and didn't say a word.
ともあれ、息子から話を聞いた私は、あの遊園地をそのままにしておくのは良くないと思ったのだ。
How does he even redeem himself in this route? I don't know, man.
息子としては君と距離を縮めたい。軍としては遊園地を解体したい。どちらの要望も一致していた。だから私はあの日、園に軍を率いて向かったのだ。なあ、アルノ。
それは、俺は。
Monsieur Daniel said his name. Even I ended up feeling so nervous I could hardly breathe.
まさかあの事件の責任を自分の息子にかぶせるつもりなのか？
そういうわけではない。息子のためにとは思ったが、私の意思だ。ただ。
He is still trying to justify whatever he did back then. What the fuck? And he's even using his own son. What the fuck? Just listening to him was making my heart pound like a drum. Felt like I couldn't let myself listen any longer.
私が手を下したことで彼女が手に入り、お前は私に感謝していたのだろう。だからいつも協力的だった。 彼女を見張っておくことにも同意し、細かに手紙で報告を送ってくれていた。だからヒューゴ、君がこのレーブ移動遊園地を開き、亡霊としてさまよっていることも知ることができた。
For a moment, we fell into silence. That just made the sound of my heart feel all the louder. I knew I was breaking out into a cold sweat. Matters, so I was right all along. And that means that everything Arnold has done up until now. Before I knew it, I had dashed over to Arnold and grabbed him by his arm. That's not true, is it? Tell me what's really going on, please. Tell me that Monsieur Daniel was wrong. Tell me that it was all just a lie, please. Arnold was right there in front of me, but he won't look me in the eye for so much as a moment. His usual smile was nowhere to be seen. He didn't even say a word. It's almost like he couldn't. Something was wrong. The man who stood before me was something like the Arnold I knew. It was something like the Arnold I remembered, being so very long ago.
お前、俺のこと覚えてるか？
Don't remember anything that happened in the past year. Did I meet you recently? Were we friends?
うん。まあ。
Thought so. Sorry, I just can't remember anything at all.
うん。いいんだ。また新しく始めればいいんだからさ。はじめまして。俺はアルノ。よろしくな。
Part of me wanted to say that everything Monsieur Dan had told me was a lie. And yet part of me knew that wasn't the case. And I felt truly isolated when the Vincents had taken me in. I felt so sad, so lonely, I could hardly stand it. All I could do was cry in solitude. To top it all off, I'd never been able to truly understand why I'd felt that way. I always assumed it was because I had lost my father, but that wasn't the case. It was because I'd lost him. The amusement park he loved so dearly, Hugo and all the others who were precious to me as well. Forgotten all of them. In that light, it all made sense. I finally understood why it felt so lonely. But that's exactly why. I'm so glad that you were there for me, Arnold. You were always so kind and cheerful. You'd always encourage me without ever asking for anything in return. Trusted you. The sense of isolation I'd struggled with so long ago was beginning to return. The pain that I thought living with Arnold and Madame Alice had healed once again began to throb in my chest. Was it all fake? Have you been lying to me this whole time? Didn't want to ask him that. The question simply spilled from my lips as tears began to stream down my cheeks. If only he'd say I was wrong. If only he'd say it wasn't true. He'd just tell me it was all a lie. But he didn't say a word. Long last, I let my arms fall to my side. He was always there to comfort me when I cried. He'd stay with me until my tears dried and I could smile again. Well... As I fruitlessly attempted to wipe away my tears, the tone of Monsieur Daniel's voice changed.
さて、これで分かっただろう。かりそめの日々もこれで終わりだ。エマ、君の魔法は危険なものだ。あの日人々を巻き込み、ヒューゴを亡霊にした強力な魔法がまた発動しないとも限らん。君の居場所はどこにもない。晩餐家にも、もちろんこのレーブにもだ。
そんな言い方はやめろ。
それが事実だ。彼女は今後軍で保護し、レーブ移動遊園地は軍の監視下に置く。
そんなことにおとなしく従うと。
アルノ、彼女を拘束しろ。
Uh-oh. Well, Arnold, you have a way to redeem yourself. What will you do?
はい。
Oh, he's gonna follow then. Okay. I begged for my freedom, staking my last sliver of hope on Arnold, but he didn't let go.
レーブ移動遊園地は軍の監視下に置く。まずはこの場所から移動させてもらおう。いいな、ヒューゴ園長。
Mr. Dano shot a meaningful glance in my direction as he spoke. In other words, I was his hostage.
わかった。
よし。前々からこの場所もスタッフも妙な魔法で守られて手出しできず、こちらとしても困っていたのだ。危害を加えると不幸な事故が起き、返り討ちに遭うからな。お互い穏便にことを済ませるとしよう。では行くぞ。アルノ、彼女を案内してやれ。
はい。
Arnold led me by the hand just like he always did. And yet, this time he looked like a complete stranger to me. Well... Well, the plot thickens, the plot thickens, and I think that's all my time for today, though. So I'm gonna be saving here. Yeah, I'm gonna be saving there, and we'll continue this next week. Oh god. Hate that guy. Yeah, I hate him too. Yeah, we continue this next week. On the 23rd. And then, 24th, I mean. And then on March 3, I'm gonna be playing a different game because on the 24th I'm gonna try to finish this route. But on March 3 I'm gonna play a different game. We'll see how that goes, but yeah. Yeah, for now, that's it for today. I'll go and read out new otome game. Yeah, I have a new otome game that I bought and it arrived recently. And yeah, we're gonna play that one. The one you posted? Yep, the one that I posted. Let's see, who do I read out to? Anyone I know? So let's go read Lex. I haven't raided Lex in a bit, so let's go read Lex for now. Yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow for Arc. Arc and FF16 after. Yeah. More otome game next week on the 24th. And we'll finish this story, this route. Yeah, thank you guys for hanging out and dropping by. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.